I'm ready.
I'm ready, dude. Come on.
No way. Oh my god! No way! Oh my god!
All right, welcome everybody to episode 103 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast from the Super Network studio. I am here with Hella Greg in the Super Network bunker, 66.6 feet directly below us. And of course, I ask you, how goes it, Hella Greg?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You've really been soaking up that branding lately.
You know, I heard its remix of the X-Files theme and almost sent it to you.
You were like, this is my new shit, and that's that.
The problem is it made me want to dance, and I am not a good dancer.
Perfect. I disagree. I've seen you dance. You have great rhythm.
See me do the splits, I know.
No,
Well, if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, are no friends of mine.
All right, don't forget to follow the show anywhere you guys like on Facebook, Serial Chillers Podcast. Facebook group is of the same name. The Instagram is the same. The email is the same. Just put an @gmail.com at the end. The Twitter is @Chillers Podcast because Serial Chillers Podcast is too many letters. Call or text the show 1-805-666-2513. Serial Chillers Podcast.threadless.com if you want to get a fucking t-shirt. Somebody sent us a picture of a baby in a Serial Chillers onesie, and that shit melted my tiny black heart. SerialChillersPodcast.com for stickers. Rate and review the show on anything you possibly can. Patreon.com/SerialChillersPodcast to give to the show as little as $1 a month. Keeps the wheel spinning. $5 a month gets you hella conspiracies. Don't forget to check out other shows on the network like Super Simpsons Show and Death & Co. Podcast. Also, thanks to He Who Seeks Vengeance for the theme song that you heard bringing us in here. It might be fading out now. I've been talking for a while. I don't know.
It finished a while ago.
All right, that song that you heard a minute ago.
So did I.
Let me. Oh, gross. That's why the floor's sticky. Why didn't you wait till you got down to your place to do it?
I waited. I waited till we were on air.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me introduce you to some guests that I have here. Since he is the nearest to me and he can hurt me the most if I don't, I will introduce to you first our good friend. Don't say anything yet. Paul.
So no one told you Paul was gonna be this way.
It's a terrible paint job in here.
The look of pure disgust just makes me it makes me so happy on the inside.
You know,
So you don't die inside a little bit every time? Me neither.
Oh, I
Cool.
do, but that's what I'm aiming for.
I got to tell you, there's been I want to say there's been something like 70 different guests on the show. 62, or I was trying to count the other day. It was in that area. I kind of lost count. Didn't give a shit anymore.
I was gonna say, that sounds like an
Started a
awful
project
task.
and gave up.
Yeah,
I
that
gave
sounds
up at
about
12.
right.
We got a guy for that.
There are 4 guests with theme songs on the board.
And none of them have the custom Jesse voice other than me.
Oh, no, check it out.
No, I don't. Don't
That's,
play his.
that's totally me. That's totally me.
Oh, don't play his on my
That's
episode.
straight up a rival right there.
Yeah,
That's like
but-
walking into
Is
the
he? Yeah,
but he
Ohio
challenged
State
me.
University and being like, "Is anybody else like Michigan?"
He challenged me.
You
All
could have
right.
just been like, this
Had to
other
be.
person does.
All right, let's get to some other guests, Paul. Quit trying to eat up so much time.
Cool,
all
I'll just
right?
be over here.
Yeah.
Tell me when to talk again.
Wearing his 5 crown, even if it's not officially on his head any longer, for his 5th visit here. I think he's got some wind.
I got one.
He's got 1. 1 and 4. Welcome back to the show, Geddy.
Thanks. What's my theme song?
#1 super fan.
Thanks. I'm in. I'll take it.
Custom.
Greg, if you could just cut that so we could add it to the soundboard, I would appreciate that.
I'll be sending it to you as it happens.
But
Beautiful.
I would also like Geddy saying, "What's my theme song?" at the beginning of it.
I'm gonna need it, but I'm gonna need it a little louder because you're a little quiet, Geddy.
What's my theme song?
That's better.
You looked so shocked when you were saying that, too. Just like, where is it?
I know. I wish
need
this
it.
was video media.
And for the first time on the show, but she's 2/3. This is 2/3 of the Mod Squad. She is 1/3 of the Mod Squad in the Facebook group that you all know and love. So if you're there, you know her. Welcome, everybody. Taylor.
Nice claps, thanks.
Please, sir, stop the masturbation.
I really am hating
I want to
this
come too.
shirt. I feel bad in my serial killer shirt.
Why do you feel bad?
I feel like I really am sucking up. It wasn't
No, you're not getting points for it, so that's okay.
Well, but if it comes down to an artistic challenge, you might.
I might.
Because, you pander to your judge.
There
Wait.
you go.
I want to take the sacrifice and say she gets the points to have Paul cry about it.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm gonna win. I'm not drinking, so I have to win. It's a thing.
It is a thing. When Paul doesn't drink, he does pretty good.
No,
Well,
I
we're
win.
all three sober on this episode, so it's fair game.
Oh no, that doesn't matter. The guests are irrelevant. I win. Just call it a day here. We good? It's been fun, guys. Talk
Let's
to y'all
try
later.
this.
All right. Well, it sounds to me like you guys know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story. And if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. I believe Taylor brought a story today.
Geddy too.
I did.
Geddy, too?
A 5-minute.
It's
It's just a quick personal thing.
Okay.
Just a
Lastly,
personal thing. It's not you.
if you have questions about the questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
Side note: it's not a terrible paint job. It's a shadow effect. You're welcome.
That wasn't
It's
a
dark
question.
and mysterious.
Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Killers podcast. Yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah.
I really do like that revamped guitar.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the show, guys. Tell me, have you heard of today's killer, Tommy Lynn Sells?
Sells with a C or an S?
It is SELLS.
Negative.
No.
All right. So before we get real deep into it, references and citations. We've been doing this at the top all season. Going to continue to do it forever. Tommy Lynn Sells serial killer documentary YouTube channel, a little 35-minute documentary where an AI so eloquently reads you an entire transcription. It's a little bit creepy, but go enjoy it. The Mind of a Psychopath, an interview by Dan Abrams of Tommy Lee Sells for Nightline ABC News. A September 4th, 2010 segment, Live to Tell Crystal's Courage, produced by Chris Young, and the story was followed for 10 years by Harold Dow, who passed just 2 weeks before the segment aired. The Fiesta Kidnapping Murder still haunts the city 20 years later, South Texas Crime Stories, Mary Beatrice B. Perez by Erica Hernandez on April 25th, 2019 on KSAT.com. The Cross-Country Killer, Life of Serial Killer Tommy Lynn Sells, which is a book by Jack Smith, and The Brutal Texan by Roger Harrington, which is another book. Also, Radford University Timeline, information researched and summarized by Catherine Rowe, Nicole Ruggiero, Christopher Rutolo, and Jason Smith. Question number 1. In what year was Tommy Lynn Sells born?
That's my favorite face I've ever seen you make.
That was a good one.
I was fucking looking away. I missed it.
You're so stupid.
I am. Who are you? All of the influential adults in my life growing up? Get out of here.
Oh,
All right, you guys got your answers written down, or are you going vocal, Geddy? What do you got there? What do you?
I'll say 58. 1958.
Geddy says 1958. Taylor,
65.
1965. Paul says 1974. Tommy Lynn Sells was born to a negligent mother named Nina Sells in Oakland, California on June 28th, 1964. 250 points to Taylor, nearly 1,000 points out of the gate. Oh shit, y'all!
See, I don't like when
shit.
when they're not in the studio because I feel like they're cheating. She could have easily Googled this.
So you just got called out for cheating, Taylor.
You're welcome.
How do you feel?
I swear on it. I'm not.
Hey, the burden of proof is on Paul, not you. Don't worry.
That's way too far for me to go and try to prove it.
I already done fucked up and forgot to look up the name of the dude that I'm talking about in my story, so I'm just gonna give broad information. So Paul doesn't.
Just use my name.
The rules are different for your story. You can Google for yours.
Yeah. All right, so June 28th, 1964, he's born again to a negligent mother, Nina Sells, in Oakland, California. No father in the picture at this time. He has 4 older siblings, and he is a twin. As a newborn, he and his family moved to St. Louis, Missouri. In December of 1965, at 18 months old, his twin sister dies of meningitis. When they were both around this age, he took ill with fever around the same time, but did not succumb to the disease completely. Some believe that the high temperatures at childhood could lead to brain damage, and meningitis can have a fever of below 100 degrees, though it is possible for it to go undetected. So, above 100 degrees. It's gnarly, and we talk about head injuries a lot, but this is something where at some point his temperature could have been in the 103s, 104s, 105s, and done some damage to a little brain of a kid that made it through.
Hey,
So
that's a messed up thing too. It makes you like super loopy and like
meningitis does?
No, just a temperature that high.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Especially as an adult.
I mean, I was a kid and I had a fever of like 104.1 and like was just out of it. I mean, I wasn't like a child. I was like 13 or whatever.
Yeah, you hallucinate. I mean, your brain's literally frying.
Yeah.
Over 103, you should be in the ER. That's just standard.
Yeah, stuff was cooking on the inside.
That's what happened.
I could hear it sizzle.
Had no problem since.
So that's just something to think about as we get in the beginning. You know, we're not going to hear about a head injury as we move along, but we're going to hear at 18 months he has a severe case of meningitis that kills his twin sister as well. So from 1966 to 1969, from the ages of 2 to 5, he lived with his mother's aunt, Bonnie, in Holcomb, Missouri. And his mother never visited the entire time. She was dealing with the death of one of her children in her own way, and it seems that seeing Tommy reminded her too much of Tammy Jean, his sister's passing. The aunt inquired about adopting Tommy at one point, but his mother took him back and refused to allow him to see the aunt ever again. So he gets dropped off at 18 months old. She literally doesn't hear from the mom for 4 years. He's 5 years old now, and she hits him up like, hey, like, I love him. He's been here since he was a baby. Like, you know, let's make this official. I want to adopt him. So Nina goes and says,
I need to be able to make medical decisions on his behalf.
Yeah. And Nina says, how about fuck you? And takes him and never allows Bonnie to see Tommy ever again.
Sounds like a sweetheart.
It's disgusting.
So it's just
there are 2 sides to every story.
It's just another one of those things where it's like a fork in the road that could have just gone a completely different direction that really maybe changed history.
He could have just like written a screenplay about the sister he never knew.
Yeah, the mom that left him. Instead, he is episode 103 of the Serial Chillers podcast. So, his Aunt Bonnie really, really cared for him. She really considered himself his mother. She said that he loved to ride his tricycle up and down the sidewalk. He was always outside. He was like such a loving kid. Sells claims that this is going to be one of the only bright spots in his entire life. And he remembers quite clearly the day that his mother came and ripped him away from his aunt. And it was a very damaging one to him. So he was 5, but I mean, like, he's in police custody at some point, and he's like, man, that day my mom came and took me from my aunts really fucked me up.
But you also don't remember things before you're 4. Like, cognitive memory doesn't start till then, so he never knew his mom. Like, he only knew his aunt. That's even more fucked.
Yeah, I was just saying that's a pretty formative time. Like, as the owner of a couple of 5-year-olds, like, you can probably attest to the fact that they're
close enough.
What?
Paul looked at me like, that's not how old they are.
Well, no. I thought he was saying he had 5-year-olds, and I was like, wait, where?
No.
The bunker.
Yeah, no, I keep them in a cage.
I've seen plenty of pictures of
them. They're free-range 5-year-olds.
No, I keep them in a cage, and I get them riled up, and once a week I take them out to fight other 5-year-olds.
Hey, I told you not to talk about that.
I do it at a daycare. Wait, no, we got busted. We moved. Anyway.
Yes. Okay, so it would be very. My kids don't like. Paul comes over like once a week, maybe more, and they still got to warm up to him most of the time. So
yeah, they're usually hiding in a corner when I come in. I'm like, oh hi, and they're like, no,
it's a hulking figure.
Hey, you're a hulking figure.
This crazy angry stranger shows up, and they're like, "You're mine now. Come with me.
I'm your mother."
Wait, my trike! You don't need a trike.
Nah, you right on top of the car. In 1971, at the age of 7, he is chronically truant from school as an indication of his mother's indifference. She is pretty much a bag of shit and at no point can get it together enough to even fucking get him to school. In 1971, he is 7 years old. We have an educator here, so maybe they're not a fan of that. In 1971, at the age of 7, question number 2, what does he begin to do? 1971, age of 7, does he A, exhibit violent behavior, B, begin consuming alcohol, C, begin smoking cigarettes, or D, drop out of school? Exhibit violent behavior, consume alcohol, smoke cigarettes, drop out of school. Taylor says begin smoking cigarettes. Paul says drop out of school. Geddy says
Alcohol.
alcohol.
That sounds awful at the age of 7.
At the age of 7, Tommy Linsells begins to abuse alcohol that his maternal grandfather kept hidden, or so he thought. Pretty much he lived with his maternal grandfather, his maternal grandmother. Everybody in his house is like blackout alcoholics on a daily basis. So like as a 7-year-old who's only been there for a short time, you're like, oh, this is like how you do it here, I guess.
We don't have a TV. We just drink.
So everybody would get absolutely shithouse and pass out face first in a pile of their own puke. And then he would, get the bottle himself. And at 7, he would just kind of pick up the habit himself. In 1972, he's 8 years old. He spent time with a man from a nearby town in Frisbee, Missouri. The old man had befriended this young boy.
Nice.
Yeah. See where this goes. Almost immediately, Tommy begins to sleep at this man's home with increasing frequency. The man was later identified as a pedophile who molested boys, including Tommy.
No.
Yeah, never charged with any of them, though. It was pretty much the Wild West at the Sells residence. It said that in the Brutal Texan, the book, that Nina Sells didn't care about her son being at this man's house because it meant that she didn't have to care for him. No matter what was happening to him out there, like it wasn't a big deal because it was like one less mouth to feed, essentially.
Cool.
Sounds fun, doesn't it?
Good parenting.
Yeah. So, question.
Why'd she fight for this child?
She didn't. She just didn't want someone else to have it.
Cool.
Like it was.
She did it to make a point.
That's why.
Yeah, Bonnie was like, hey, let's make this happen. I want to adopt him and make this for real. And she's like, no, he's mine. I haven't seen him in 3.5 years. And came and just fucking took him back. Like it was a blinded rage type thing. She didn't care that
It's very
he was going to be living a shittier life.
The Simpsons, like the Thanksgiving episode when Bart and Lisa are fighting over the glue. And he's like, it's my glue. And Lisa's like, he doesn't even want it. He just wants it because I have it. And he's like, nuh-uh. And she's like, fine, take your glue. And he's like, I don't want your stupid glue. That's what it is, except this kid's the glue.
If Bonnie never said anything, we might not have a fuck face. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I feel like she was trying to do the right thing, though. She was like, let's do this.
She seemed like an upstanding member of society.
So, question number 3. At what age would Tommy completely drop out of school?
Do we write this down?
This is closest to the answer. We'll get 250 points. If you can nail it, you can get 1,000.
1,000.
I am a fan of your scratch paper, Geddy.
Thank you. Don't look at my address.
Too late.
I have it. You're a Patreon subscriber.
Ooh.
Okay, all 3 of you guessed 11.
Fuck off.
Do that again. Let's do.
So I will let you, there's 3 of you. I will let you vote whether you're going to get 250 points each or 0 points each. Paul, what do you vote for? You want 0 points or you want 250 points?
Yeah, I want 0 points because it fuck everybody else.
Okay, Taylor, do you want 0 points or do you want?
I want them. I want everyone to have the wealth.
Okay, Geddy, it's up to you. Do you want the
Selfish.
points? And just to be fair, Geddy, before you give these points to yourself and Paul does not have any points yet. So if you decide to give none, you will have points, Taylor will have points, and Paul will still have no points.
You'll both still
I
be
want to
pitching a
say
shutout.
that we fucking nailed it and we get 1,000 points.
No, he already said 250, so we're all wrong.
So 250 to the closest or 0, Geddy, you're the final vote.
0.
All right. Nobody gets any points on that one. So, Paul, you're being shut out still.
Guys-
Taylor's got 250 points.
Guys are dicks.
That was the straight up
Literally
self-sacrifice.
just thinking that.
Geddy just threw himself on a grenade and was like, eh.
Yeah, but he's got 250 points.
Well, he threw Paul on a grenade.
Oh, yeah.
You're a grenade.
I just like to point out the things I'm seeing along the scoreboard here. That's all.
I would like
Don't
to say
worry,
that's a
guys. There's
torpedo terror
37,000
for a
questions left. There's plenty of time.
I think we only have 13 questions tonight, Paul.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
That's metal.
I should
Yeah.
start it. I should start
Serial
scoring.
Chillers is not always going to be 3-hour episodes throughout season 5. We've got some other shit planned.
Oh, no.
Just so you guys are aware. Okay, so he's abusing alcohol. He is dropped out of school. The book said it was my favorite quote in the whole book. In 1974, at the age 10, he, quote, began smoking ditchweed marijuana and dropped out of school.
Yeah, but like, didn't we all?
Yeah.
At
Maybe
10?
not 10, but
It takes a lot of time to pick those seeds in STEM. No time for school.
I'll just take the headache. In
well, I mean,
1973,
he was learning the metric system.
yeah.
Truth.
In 1973, at the age of 11, Joe Lovins, Cell's presumed biological father, passed away. This stirred up numerous emotions because this is a kid who never knew a dad, and the only male role model he had in his life so far was a pedophile who molested him. So that's kind of interesting thought. It's like he didn't know this dad, but in the end, it's still his dad, you know.
It
So
was one of those. Well, now I don't have the chance.
yeah, exactly. And like, look, the only other dude, did some pretty heinous shit to me. So I don't really know if I enjoy this male role model shit so much. So he goes to his dad's funeral and he tries to speak to his dad. It's an open casket thing. He tried to talk to his dad and he was getting very emotional. And his maternal grandmother came, pulled him away, and told him loudly and in front of everybody to just stop it. So he was like trying to say his goodbye, and his
He
grandma-
doesn't want to talk to you right now.
That's what I mean as a bitch. Grandma's a bitch too.
Yeah, the whole family are just, god damn it, they're giant pieces
You're all
of shit.
just awful.
Yeah.
Well, how did the one sister turn out so normal?
Separation.
Which one sister are you talking about?
The aunt that was raising him.
It was his mom's aunt. So it was his.
Oh, this is his
Yeah.
dad's side.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
No, that was
oh,
that.
oh.
Right. So this was a maternal side, but separated. So that's not
Right.
his mom's sister. It's his mom's aunt.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay, so grandma's sister.
Got it.
He gets pulled away from his father in the midst of the funeral. Never got to say goodbye. Kind of, I mean, if for you that was going to be your way of getting closure and saying goodbye and you were just yanked away, like that's not fair and it's not fucking cool, man. But he's going to hit a point in his life where you kind of don't feel bad for him anymore. So hold on to your butts. 1977, at the age of 13, his sexual depravity begins to know no bounds. Question number 4. He is going to crawl into bed naked with a relative. Ooh. 500 points if he could nail it. There is no closest to this one. If you can guess which relative that he decided to crawl into bed naked with.
Well, shit, I
It's
don't even
gonna
know who
get
he
you-
was living with.
It's going to get you a 5, Hundy. Pay attention.
I never do.
I'm just having fun.
It's always the presence. Okay? Always the presence.
All right.
Offsets me.
So 250
So he's
points for
living
Geddy,
somewhere.
250 for Taylor. Paul's not on the board yet, but
There's 13 questions left. There's plenty of time.
well, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, but you score more or whatever. But all right.
Can you see that?
Geddy says grandma. Taylor says
Grandpa.
grandpa. Oh,
Ah,
hello. And Paul says his aunt. 500 points to Geddy. Yes.
Yes!
Grandma laying in bed one night. And
I mean, I'm not cheering for the situation.
Yeah, that's a
Cheering for the points.
that's a
Let me
special
just make
category you
that
really got to
clear.
search hard for.
okay, so Geddy's got 500 points, bringing him to 750 for Geddy, 250 for Taylor. Paul, not on the board yet.
Hi. Oh, what are we doing?
Time is dwindling, Paul.
We're playing a game.
Okay, so he crawls into bed naked with his
Same
grandmother.
game.
In the same year, Tommy attempted to rape his own mother. After both of these events, his parents sent him to get a mental evaluation. Later that year, he would come out of the mental evaluation and claim that he would walk to his family's trailer to discover that everybody had moved out without saying goodbye or telling him where they went.
Jesus Christ.
His family members denied these allegations and said that never happened. He just never came home. Like, he checked himself out and never came home. So he's away from his family. Now, remember, he's 13. This is not he's not a grown man at
He's
this
not
point.
self-sufficient.
Right. So in 1978, he's 14. He leaves his hometown of St. Louis and starts riding trains around the country and stealing. I like to imagine that he had like a little hobo bindle and like maybe some patches on his knees.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
That would be
But
fun.
no, because nobody would have sewn him in for him.
Well, he's 13. He seems resourceful.
They were
He's
iron
riding
on. He
trains.
just laid him on the train tracks, and when the train ran him over, the heat pressed him on.
There you go. They're Iron
That'd be
Maiden.
so sick.
1979, he's 15. He claims his first murder occurred when he was 15 in Mississippi. He was waiting to rob a house and saw a man molesting a child and claims to have killed him because of the molestation. Later, evidence is going to say that he was here to kill this man, but there is no sign that any molestation was taking place. There's no sign that there was even like a child in the area. He just killed a guy and like had a cool like white knight story for it, right? When he finally confesses, they believe him because the facts that he knows about the case are facts that are not public knowledge. In 1980, at 16, he kills a man near a Chinese restaurant in Los Angeles.
Ooh, orange chicken.
Question number 5. With what did he claim to kill this man? If anybody would like to stab at it, you may. There is multiple choice for this. Of course, if you stab and get it, it is for 1,000 points.
1,000.
1,000. I do have multiple choice options, so if you don't want to stab, Geddy, are you stabbing over there? Is that what's happening?
Fuck no, dude.
Okay, Geddy says no. Even with that safe lead, Taylor, are you going to stab or are you going to wait for the multiple choice?
I think I'll pass.
All right, so multiple choice options are a baseball bat, a chef knife, a crowbar, and an ice pick.
See, I would have stabbed and said chopstick.
Chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks.
With the walk.
Baseball bat, chef knife, crowbar, ice pick. 2 bludgeons, 2 stabbies.
Can you read?
All right, Geddy says crowbar. Taylor says chef knife, as does Paul. Nobody scores points.
It was a chopstick.
It was an ice pick. I mean, that was if you were gonna guess chopstick, I would have just gone ice pick because it's like the most similar to a chopstick.
No, I was
from
definitely
there.
gonna say ice pick actually, but then I saw Taylor said B, and so I cheated.
What
was B?
Chef knife.
I don't know. It wasn't ice.
Oh, that's what
ice thing.
I was thinking crowbar since he's going around riding trains and shit. He's probably popping them locks.
Oh,
No, but he's got to carry it with him.
Geddy's thinking.
That's heavy. For
It's a pocket crowbar, bro. You don't know shit.
I don't.
It unfold.
Yeah, that's where he carries his bindle on.
And in Oakland, a few days after this, he tangled in a gang-related fight in which he almost killed another man and was hurt himself, according to himself. Sells went to the hospital and later cussed out 2 nurses and told them to leave the room after they insisted that they insert a urinary catheter. He left the hospital.
Insisted?
They insisted,
Oh.
and he was like, fuck that, fuck you, get the fuck out of my fucking room.
Sounds
No,
right.
Paul, he insisted. He was like,
No, that's how I heard it. That's how I heard it. That he insisted. I was like, whoa, this guy's all kinds of fucked up.
I brought my own lube. Here it is. This what you guys have irritates me.
Oh, lube in there.
Remember, so this dude is fucking gnarly. He instead leaves the hospital and goes home so that his mother could nurse him back to health.
How old is he right now?
16, 17?
Fucking hardcore.
And he supposedly committed 2 murders and just almost killed a 3rd guy
With a
because he
chopstick.
fought some
yeah.
gang members valiantly, I'm sure. Yeah, got a rocket in his pocket. 1982, at 18, he fathers a boy in Arkansas with Cindy Hanna, his first love. The Hanna family strongly disapproved of cells for numerous reasons, including stealing from the church in which they belong. Apparently, everyone knew about it, but there was no real proof. Everyone just fucking knew it was Tommy's asshole bitch ass that fucking stole the money, but they couldn't do shit about it, so they all just hated him.
Well, it seems like a stand-up guy who wouldn't do that.
So far, so good, huh? On July 21st, 1983, a man matching Cell's description was seen leaving the home of Thomas and Colleen Gill. The bodies of Colleen and the couple's 4-year-old daughter, Tiffany, were found beaten to death inside their home. In March of 1983, he burglarized a home near Little Rock, Arkansas, and shot Mike Brenner, who lived but was not able to identify his attacker. On May 8th, 1984, at 19, he is arrested for stealing a car, and on September 18th is convicted for auto theft and sentenced to 2 years in prison. In 1984, at 20, he is serving his 2-year sentence in prison for stealing a car when his daughter, Nicole Snow, was born. Question number 6. How long of his 2-year sentence did he serve? Closest to the answer. Give it to me in months. Let's just call it months.
Hey,
How
Taylor,
long?
Taylor, what are you going to say?
Oh, bitch.
And here, holy shit. Okay. Taylor says 6 months. What? Paul says 7 months.
I said 8 months.
Geddy says 8 months. Look at that. You guys are so cute. 6,
And
7,
I get
8.
no points because they're all around me.
What if it's 7 and you get 1,000?
It's not.
It's not. Taylor gets 250 points because he served 5 of his 24-month sentence.
Beginner's luck.
Good.
So
Yeah.
Taylor's at 500. Geddy's at 750. Paul, yet to get on
Get on the board, Paul.
board. Do you
I'm
want me
one
to
stab
get you some
away.
booze?
No, you don't have vodka.
That's true. That's because you drank it all.
No,
Oh,
it
they-
wasn't me.
it's
It was that
true.
other
Nobody's
person.
got beer and potatoes, and
Come on. Just set it in the windowsill until the next time you're here.
I almost brought a big ass bottle, but it wouldn't fit on your shelf.
That was the reason for not.
Yeah.
February 18th, 1985, at 25 months later, to the day of his prison sentence, he's paroled. In April of 1985, he's convicted of felony theft in Missouri. He serves 8 months for this felony theft. I couldn't find what he stole. Probably like I don't know, like a bunch of sweet shifter knobs. That's my guess. On July 19th, 1985, he checks into New Horizons Rehabilitation Center. He has some problems. July 22nd, 1985, after being questioned by police about the theft of a car, Sells fled the rehab center. So he's like, hey, I'm a very unsuspicious guy. I'm just here to do some rehab. So please don't bother with me. I'm very unsuspicious. Don't bother with anything that I'm bothering with. I'm very unsuspicious. And 20 minutes later, the cops are like, yeah, we're here for Tommy Lynn Sells. He's like, I don't know anything. And the cop's like, all right, well, at least we know where he is now. And he's like, listen, very unsuspiciously, I'm just going to leave right now, guys. Listen, this is very unsuspicious what I'm doing, but I gotta say goodbye.
I imagine him like standing in the hallway, nobody around him, and the cops just like walk up towards him, and he's just like, ooh. It's like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, just like surprised. They're like, hey, are you this guy? No.
hey, do you remember that
He know he
suspicious
is.
guy that was in here earlier?
Hey, can I get my
No,
deposit back?
no, I don't.
So he leaves the rehab center, and 4 days later, he killed Ana Court, who was 35, and her 4-year-old son, Rory, in Forsyth, Missouri. So we're just gonna go and tell you now that you are not going to be set free from hearing about children death for the rest of this episode. He's not going to show any prejudice. He's
And he
gonna
has
kill.
a kid, yeah?
So he's an equal.
Yeah, but he's
opportunity
not like
offender.
with that kid really. Like he's riding the tracks, and yes, he's like Combropulus Michael.
What's that?
Women, children. I just love killing.
Here
Oh
I
boy,
go
here I
killing
go
again.
killing again.
Yeah. So October 15th, 1985, his parole is revoked for getting caught stealing, not for the murder. October 29th, 1985, he's transferred back to prison. And on December 18th, 1985, less than 2 months later, he is released on parole. That's right, less than 2 months later. May 16th, 1986. So he does spend 6 more months in from the time like being granted parole and being let out. But still, within 2 months, he was granted parole. Later in 1986, he's going to claim that while he was working for a company called Atlas Towing in St. Louis, Missouri, he received a call from a sex worker whose car had broken down. When he arrived at the vehicle, he suggested sex in lieu of paying for the towing cost. When she declined, question number 7.
Smashed her on the head with a radio.
What did Tommy say he did? Did he A, let her go, but never forgot that? B, stalked her for several weeks to show that he was capable? C, beat her? Or D, shoot her and throw her body in the river? Let her go, but never forgot that. Stalked her for
I know
several
which one I
weeks,
want it to be.
Me too.
beat her, shoot her, and threw her in the river.
Hmm.
How many lines are you making over there? There's like 4 letters.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus.
All right, Geddy, what say you?
Is that upside down? Backwards?
belly
You get the
I
letter.
get it. He says he beat her. Paul also says that he stalked her. And yeah, nobody gets points here because what he did was when she disagreed, he said within about 10 seconds he had shot her in the head and it was already dragging her towards the river so that he could throw her in.
Means he
I
had
had a
the gun
feeling.
in his hand when he asked her,
He wasn't even
And-
going to accept the sex.
and she still said no.
No,
Well,
10 seconds? He
that's
was
a-
like,
yeah.
hey, you want to like have sex for this? He's like, no. He's like, all right, I'm going to go hook this up then. Went to his car, grabbed a gun.
Yeah, or just the whole behind the back deal.
That's what I imagine. Out of the waistline.
That's fair.
Either way, he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's fucking awful though, dude. Like, I mean,
She
he
just
has,
called for a
like,
tow, man.
He's got zero like concept of life.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
But hasn't killed a dog yet. So
Redeemable.
there's that.
October 15th, 1986. He's now 22 and is going to return to prison on a parole violation for driving while intoxicated. I'm just like, I don't like love giving tips to criminals, but if you are out on parole and also like kind of like casually committing murders, you could probably please just like not get a Dewey too. Like just like not have, or like have drinks, but like walk. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing it out there. May 1st, 1987, he murders Suzanne Corse, who is 27, outside of Niagara Falls Bar. Her remains weren't found for 8 years until 1995. Oh, the year 7 came out. Only 2 miles away from
Great
the bar.
movie. One of my favorites.
Aw, what's in the box?
There you go.
It's a dead body.
So, this... Sorry.
Stop it, Geddy.
This is one of the stories that are going to be... he's not ever officially charged with this crime. But it's one that he's like, his name is definitely attached to now that it's all said and done. October 16th, 1987, the following day, he strangles Stephanie Stroh near Winnemucca, Nevada. Although nearly all signs point to him in this case, there's also not definitive evidence of Sells being involved in this murder either. So it's one of those ones where there's a lot, and he's charged with X amount, but he's suspected of X amount, you know? So hang in there.
Different.
There are different
cases.
amounts.
Well, one's a lowercase x and one's an uppercase.
Maybe.
Probably.
November 18th, 1987, Tommy was hitchhiking and was picked up by a man named Russell Dardeen, who would offer the traveler a place to stay the night. Here's the fucking deal right now.
He kills him.
Hold up.
Oh.
Okay, I know we talked about like kids getting killed in this episode, but like just skip ahead like 7 minutes. This is brutal, I feel like, right here. So I'm not like trigger warning. I got so much shit talked on me in one of the episodes that we put a trigger warning at the beginning. So I'm not doing that shit anymore. But listen, this is brutal.
Which episode?
It was the fucking our most thumbs down episode on YouTube, which also happens to be our most viewed video. But it's the Wesley Allen Dodd episode.
Well, the Albert Fish letter got a trigger warning, and that was appropriate.
Oh
so
yeah, that's right.
This is fine.
That was gnarly. Okay, so here you go. This story's gnar. The guy picks him up. That's Russell Dardeen. Russell Dardeen, pretty solid dude. He offers Tommy a place to stay. Like, sees he's a little down on his luck. He's like, man, this guy's all right. Like, you know, I can tell a good guy when I see one. So he's like, man, you can crash at my house tonight. You know, we'll get you a ride in the morning. You'll be fine. Obviously, this would be a fatal mistake. Sells would murder the entire family in Ena, Illinois. This is one of the more heinous crimes of the stories we're going to hear. So at the beginning, he shoots Russell, who's 29, through the back of the head, and then mutilated his penis in front of his wife and 3-year-old son. Then he takes the wife, Ruby Elaine, who was at the time 9 months pregnant, and brutally rapes her and begins to beat her to death, and the son, Peter, who is 3 years old, with a baseball bat. And he made sure that Ruby was still alive and conscious so that she could see her 3-year-old son be beat. Then, during the beating and additional brutal rape of Ruby Elaine, she went into labor because she was 9 months pregnant. During the continuation of the beating, she gave birth to the baby that she was 9 months pregnant with. And when the baby came out, Tommy beat the baby to death with a baseball bat. So, newborn, like, just come from the womb, and this dude is so fucked in the head that he's like, just leave it. Right.
Bonus
Like,
kill.
just,
What the fuck? That's
yeah,
so sick.
So,
Okay, the dog thing.
hold on.
He's
What we
down
need.
now.
What we need.
Yeah, do it.
Too long.
See,
Okay,
we've forgotten all about the story. Palate
there
cleanser.
we go.
You're welcome, world.
Oh, man, my heart hurts. Okay, so Tommy says the reason he was... Tommy said that he didn't get picked up hitchhiking and invited to stay the night. What really happened was that Russell saw him at a gas station, solicited him for group sex with his wife, and invited him back to his house. So that's Tommy's official...
With his 9 months pregnant wife, I'm so sure.
That
Tommy.
is correct.
I mean, they're out there.
So September 1988, a Salem, New Hampshire girl named Melissa Ann Tremblay disappeared and was later discovered to be dead laying on a railroad track. Interesting. The girl was seen in a convenience store parking lot before she had disappeared, talking to a man that matched Sells' description. In the fall of 1988, he is now 24 years old, and he uses a 3-year-old boy and his mother to try to get pity from people to gain money. So essentially, he's living on the streets. He meets them, and he's like, "Hey, man, we'll team up. Like, look, I know it's like a little unethical, but like we'll look better as a family. I feel like, we can get more money if we're sitting together and doing it that way." And like she buys into it. She's like, "Yeah, let's do that." So they beg, and they do. They get a little boost in the money. They take a road trip in a black van that he was able to steal, and the mother and child were never seen again.
It's always a van.
It's always a van.
Right, Curtis?
Van the van. December 18th, 1988, he is going to murder a transient named Kent Allen Lawton, who is 51 years old, in Tucson, Arizona, in a dispute over, quote, a marijuana cigarette.
Those damn
Jared
jazz
classes
cigarettes.
were right, dude. Drugs
Question
lead to violence.
Question number 8. How did he kill this man for a joint? Did he A, shoot him, B, stab him, C, cut his throat, or D, poison him? Said, you stole my cigarette? My marijuana cigarette? It's probably still ditchweed, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Geddy, what do you say, buddy?
I say he stabs him.
Stabbed him. Paul said, pew, pew. He shoots him. Taylor.
Slit him.
Slit the throat. Taylor's going to get 250 points and tie this thing up.
Oh, her excitement is high.
That's 750 Taylor,
that
750
first time rush.
Geddy. Paul has yet to get on the board because, yes, for this marijuana cigarette in Tucson, Arizona, he cut the throat of Kent Lawton.
It's a good
I was
name.
hoping I would
Appropriate
be
response.
and that it was like a slow thing over like weeks.
Yeah, I think it was like an event more like, hey, man, that's my joint. He's like, hey, man, that's mine. He's like,
Well, that's what I first thought about the stalking, but clearly that's not his MO. Like
I think he's a straight to the point kind of guy. So if you could
Exactly.
use that to extrapolate and use for the rest of your answers, Paul, maybe you could score some points.
Right, because he
Yeah.
didn't,
Allowed to
he
extrapolate
didn't
due to other
just
people
shoot
here.
somebody in the head in 10 seconds.
Well, that's what we're saying. He didn't draw things out.
Right, pew pew.
Pew pew. Well, yeah, but
yeah, but if you slice their throat, then you're like, bitch, you can't smoke anything. But if you shoot them, then
Who's
they can
cut
still
now?
like get a couple in.
Oh no, I
right?
imagine like headshot. Like
Oh.
did he not die?
he did. He died.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
dead.
I
Oh.
imagine many stabs in a furious. That's mine. Type deal.
These
My
are-
ditchweed.
Yeah,
These
'cause
are all
shooting,
right
it's like,
answers.
it's over,
Points
and
all the
you'd
way
be, like,
around.
just pouting
He's-
and pouting.
Yeah, he stabbed, he slit, and he shot this person.
So Paul would just
50
want
for
some
everybody.
points. Definitely just going to be the 250 for Taylor, who answered the correct answer. So we're going to head into a break here.
Poison blade.
with Geddy with 700, which he fired out of a gun. Geddy's got 750 points. Taylor has 750 points. Paul does not have any points.
Oh my
so
What are we doing?
Ooh.
So we'll come back. We've got 3 stories in the break here, so we'll get it. That's a nice palate
Are there
cleanser.
points in the
There
stories?
are 15 questions, so you're just over halfway done. You've got some time. There are points in Greg's story.
How far is vodka?
So there's
from there?
actually we're gonna have to just add it on here because I didn't change the numbers. But Greg's gonna have a question for you too, right, Greg?
Yes.
Okay, Greg's got a question for you too.
Hey,
so
Greg, can you text
we'll
me
just
the
put it over
question?
here on the side as like a Greg bonus question, so we don't have to change the numbers. Don't buy into Paul shit yet, Greg. So
give you
we'll
money.
come back. We've got a story. We've got 2 guest stories from Geddy and Taylor, and we have a Hella Greg story in question. Come back, or we'll kill you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Bree.
and together we are Death and Co. Podcast.
Join us each week as we talk about all things death related.
We'll look at everything from the afterlife to ways people die to death in other cultures. But don't worry, it's not all existential dread.
There will be plenty of laughs to distract you from your inevitable doom.
Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Death and Co. Podcast.
And download and subscribe today on your favorite podcast
here we go.
platforms. Bye.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 103. Holy shit, it's professional here. That is all I've got to say about that. So here's something great, Paul.
Let's talk about it. I'm excited. Hold on. Let me sit up.
Yeah, hold on. I had to get comfortable here.
Yeah. Oh, this is a comfortable thing or an uncomfortable
Here's
thing?
something great, Paul.
Let's go on. Go ahead.
We've got 3 people with stories. You didn't bring one.
No. I don't do that.
Yeah. So we've got 3 people here. So I mean, Hella Greg always brings us a wonderful story or some government document that we didn't know about that we're all going to learn about. And Taylor has also brought a story, as has Geddy. So we've just drawn straws for order, by which I mean right before it I said Taylor, Geddy, Greg. And with that being said, Taylor, tell us your story.
All right. So I'm in Tejas now, but some of you know, as in friends here, I'm from Louisiana. So this is going back to my roots and actually some childhood lore that we used to get pretty spooked over. Have you guys heard of the Myrtles?
Let's pretend I haven't.
Like the beach?
Okay, yeah, but no. So the
Spelled
Myrtles
the same.
plantation.
Similar but very different.
Very different. So this one is in Louisiana in what's now St. Francisville. It's like 30 miles north of Baton Rouge.
Oh, like that one movie.
Yeah, it isn't a movie. It's been on a few TV shows like Ghost Hunters and such. It's pretty famous. You can still go there today. It's like a bed and breakfast. You can go there for like weddings, or you can actually stay the night in the manor. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history on it, and then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the ghost stories because both are pretty fucked. And yeah, so let's just get through this. All right, here we go. So I got most of this information from a website called AmericanHauntingsInc.com, and this was written by Troy Taylor. I kind of pulled his stuff and chopped it up. So
Thanks, Troy.
thanks, Troy. Okay.
Hi, I'm Troy Taylor. You might remember me from other supernatural articles, such as...
Your mom's butthole.
Oh,
God.
Dave Bradford built Myrtles Plantation, then called Laurel Grove, in 1796 after he was banished from the United States for his involvement in the Pennsylvania Whiskey Rebellion. So you got to think this is back during the Civil War, and these families that I'm going to be talking about, they're all Unioners. So, no, I'm sorry, they're Confederates. So the Union was after him. So George Washington placed a price on his head, so he ran away, and he purchased 600 acres of land a year later, built this 8-room home 30 miles north of Baton Rouge, then called Laurel Grove, now called Myrtles. He lived there by himself for about 3 years until he was pardoned by the second president, who was...
No, I don't get points, so I don't answer questions.
Okay, I was just wondering. I wouldn't know either. And I'm a teacher. That's fine. President John Adams.
yeah, that's what idiots. Come on, why didn't anybody know that? My mic. Why wasn't my mic working?
Sorry.
Quincy Adams.
It was like that old Got Milk commercial. I just had a mouthful of peanut butter, but I was shouting Aaron Burr.
I think that's like the 5th. Okay, so after he was pardoned, he went and he got his wife and his 3 kids, actually his 5 kids, from Pennsylvania, brought him back, and then he turned his home into like a school. So he would have law students, which would mean men, because women back then couldn't study anything. And he had this one guy, Clark Woodruff, that came in and just kind of like didn't leave. He became a judge, and he married one of Bradford's daughters, Sarah. So Bradford dies, and Woodruff takes over the estate, taking care of his now widowed mother-in-law Elizabeth, and staying with Sarah. They have 3 kids: Cornelia, James, and Mary. Sarah dies in 1823, and a year later, 2 or 3 kids die. Now, when I was reading it, it was saying that they all died from yellow fever, which attacks. It's like you get it by mosquitoes, and it attacks your liver and your kidneys. You get jaundice, really high fever, and then you die. Um, Pretty terrifying, because down here you literally get bit just inside your house, still to this day. So all of these kids, 2 out of the 3 die. The wife dies, and he stays there with his mother-in-law until she dies in 1830. All right. So 1834, he goes and he sells the house to a guy, Ruffin Gray Sterling. The Sterlings were a wealthy family who owned several plantations on both sides of the Mississippi River. On January 1st, Ruffin Gray Sterling and his wife, Mary Cobb, took over the house, land, buildings, and all the other enslaved people that had been brought and bought by Bradford and Elizabeth. Since the Sterlings were leaders in the community, they needed a house befitting their social status. They decided to remodel Laurel Grove. Sterling added a broad central hallway. The entire southern section, walls of the original house were removed and repositioned to create 4 large rooms that were used as separate ladies' and gentlemen's parlors, formal dining room, and a game room. Thought this was interesting. The rooms were made from a mixture of clay, Spanish moss, and cattle hair. On the outside of the house, an 107-foot long gallery was supported by cast iron posts and railings. So the reason I brought that up is because if you look at the original Laurel House plantation picture, it's kind of more cabin-like. And then today, the Myrtle plantation looks like this. It looks like a plantation. Completing the project, they nearly doubled the size of David Bradford's original house, and they went ahead and officially named it the Myrtles due to all the crepe myrtle trees planted on the property. All right, here we go. Starting to get scary. So after the completion of the project, Sterling died in 1854, and his wife, Mary Cobb, took over. Sterling died of consumption, which serial killers taught me is tuberculosis.
Rest in peace, Arthur.
So, of the Sterling's 9 children, only 4 of them lived to be old enough to marry. The oldest son, Lewis, died the same year as his father. Daughter Sarah Mulford's husband, William Winter, was murdered on the front porch of the house after the Civil War in 1871. So this guy was teaching. Winter was teaching a class, and apparently he heard a horse ride up, and some guy was like, "Hey, Winter, I have words with you." And so he stopped teaching, he went outside, and then he got blasted by a shotgun. He died there on the porch.
That's kind of how I want to go.
There are reports that he
Duly noted.
crawled back into the house and like made his way up the main staircase and died on the 17th step in the arms of his love. But that's more of a legend, and that's kind of one of the ghost stories that they like to play up inside the house.
A lie, Taylor. Is that what you're telling us?
I mean,
Babe,
that's fun, right?
He's still alive. Nobody gets hurt.
He's actually one of the only people on paper that are recognized having been murdered here at the Myrtles. There was a guy that was held, or I guess tried for the murder, but nothing ever came out from that. Okay. So Sarah was devastated. She stayed there with her mom and her brothers. She died in 78 at the age of 44, and then her mom died just a few years later in 1880. All of these people are born out there in St. Francisville, which is still pretty creepy because I was actually just there for my cousin's wedding. It's a community of nothing but like woods and music, and I guess haunted plantations if you ever go, but you can find their graves still
Allegedly.
there. No, these people were real.
No, allegedly haunted.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's definitely haunted.
Are you going to stay the night there, Paul?
I mean, if you want to pay for my trip out there, sure.
Let her finish
I'll
the
pay
story
for
and you'll
our
find out
trip.
how haunted it is.
I just went to their website.
It's kind of bougie, isn't it?
Yeah, they got a nice little restaurant in there.
And it's
New chefs recently,
This
apparently.
motherfucker.
That's what upsets
Hey,
the
when you
goat.
guys send Paul, can I go too?
we can
Yeah.
just make it a serial killer strip.
I'm going to need more fan. Can we use my fan?
That is patreon.com/serial chillers podcast.
Send Paul to Louisiana's haunted place. I'll take pictures for you of the place. Not
Well, I
me.
mean, like, I think Greg and I'll go, and maybe if there's enough for a third ticket, we'll take one of our wives, and if there's enough for a fourth ticket, we'll take another one of our wives, and if there's enough for a fifth ticket,
Probably like a child.
yeah, maybe, I don't know, you might be in the running somewhere in the top 10 for sure.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So please, sorry, Taylor, go on.
No, you're fine. I'm enjoying this. Okay, so moving on, like we had a series of transfers with the house. They got their ass kicked. Like the Union soldiers came in there and just kind of like wreaked havoc on this family and destroyed a lot of things because they were Confederates, so and slave owners, shame on them. They had a lot of debt. They almost lost the house a few times, but eventually they came out of that and it was eventually moved on and bought by a guy named Harrison Williams and his widower and young son bought this in 1891. So we're getting close to 1900s. This family, again, was hit with tragedy once they moved to the house. During a storm, the Williams' oldest son, Harry, was trying to gather up some stray cattle, and he fell into the Mississippi and drowned. And then the owner, Williams' brother-in-law, Eddie, was living in a small house on the property, and he was killed during a robbery. So 1950s, Marjorie Munson buys it. And it's at this point that she starts to hear these rumors about her house. And she's kind of the one that perpetuated them. And they're lies. But my problems with the research that I did is that they were saying that this this enslaved person, Chloe, never existed. And that they also said that this plantation never had enslaved persons, which is fucking stupid. That's a lie. Like there were hundreds of acres of indigo and cotton and sugar, and you're gonna tell me that these dumbass Confederates didn't like have one slave? No, that's not that. I don't agree with that. So there's some conflicting reports, and I just have a problem with it. But my childhood, we grew up with knowing about this ghost Chloe. Okay, and let me tell you about Chloe. This is like the big one. Okay. So Chloe was the nanny of the children, and she was a household servant, which was much better than being out in the fields, right? Well, this is back when the original guy, Bradford, whenever his daughter Sarah married the judge, this is now they have the property. So Sarah and Woodruff are running the property, and Woodruff is disgusting pervert and he rapes his house servants. Okay, so he chooses Chloe. Legends say that he chose her because she was biracial, so she looked, I don't know, she was a preference of his. He seemed to attack biracial enslaved persons more, and she was his pick. And then he started to lose interest in her. And she gave in to the rape because she knew if she didn't, she would be put out into the land to work. He started losing interest in their, I don't want to call it affair, but in what was happening between them. And she started getting worried that if he lost interest, she would be sent out to work. So the story goes that it was around after 1817. After the judge stopped having sexual relations with her, he had caught her listening in on his door while he was either having a business meeting or possibly talking about her. She just wanted to hear what was going on because she was worried about herself. He caught her and he cut her ear off. So after he cut her ear off, she then went on to always wear this green turban around her hair or her head to hide the scar. She started having even more doubts about her standing with the family, and it was one of the little girl's birthdays. So what she did was she had this plan: I'm going to get them a little bit sick, and then I'm going to nurse them back to health, and everything's going to be fine, and I'm going to be able to stay here. So she goes out into the
I don't
garden.
like how this is starting.
How do you get somebody a little bit sick?
You
You only
give
put a little bit of poison.
You just get a little bit of poison.
Haven't you ever seen Wedding Crashers?
No, what's that?
Shut up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead,
So
Taylor.
she goes in the garden. She picks a couple of oleander leaves, which is a very, very poisonous flower, and she boils them, mixes it with the flour, and bakes a birthday cake. Okay. The legend says her two daughters, that Sarah, this was fed to Sarah and her two daughters, but that's not the case because if you remember earlier, I said that Sarah died a whole year before her son and her daughter. And when this story was said to have happened, Sarah was apparently pregnant. So again, like this, there's lore in this, like it's hit and miss. So you just kind of got to take it for what it is. All right. So I'll stop backtracking with that. So Chloe makes this cake, feeds it to everybody. The judge abstains from it, and they start like foaming at the mouth, seizing at the dining room table, and the two children and the mom die. So there's one child remaining, and the judge is remaining. Well, the other enslaved persons are so terrified that the judge is going to come back and punish all of them that they actually go and they attack Chloe, and they take her outside. They hang her at a tree. They kill her, and then they take her down from the tree after they've hung her, weigh her down with rocks, and throw her in the Mississippi.
Oh.
Yeah. So a former owner of the Myrtles had a face-to-face encounter with Chloe, who was awoken, and at first it scared her, but Chloe was looking right at her and seemed disappointed, as if she was looking for someone else. Chloe's known to pull back the mosquito netting on the bed as if she's searching for somebody. Her green turban is very prevalent in her apparitions, and people who have been living at the mansion for a while definitely spot her before they spot others. She's not known as being evil or upsetting. She's friendly and she's pretty easygoing, but she is really active.
Like Casper.
Like Casper.
He's the
so
friendliest ghost you know.
I just have like two other ghosts to tell you about. They have two little blonde girls that are peeking through windows and visited a startled writer by standing at the foot of his bed.
And saying, come play with us.
Just gonna say, like the Shinnin.
Another unknown, unseen little rascal likes to bounce in the beds that were just freshly made. Fortunately, another apparition of a young woman dressed as a maid follows this mischief maker around and quickly smooths out the wrinkles caused by the jumping. I remember as a kid,
Kind of nice.
friends go stay and like they would remember the pressure that would come down on the bed. Also, like if you had put coins out, the coins would be missing, and then a lot of people would hear or like feel their hair being messed with next to their right ear, which is the one that Chloe had chopped off.
Thief ass ghosts.
A Confederate soldier has been seen and heard tromping across the front porch. Another specter in khaki sternly warns visitors not to come visit. They say that this plantation was built on top of an Native American burial ground.
They always are.
I couldn't really find any proof of that, but they do say that there is a naked Indian girl that is seen very often that just runs around in the gazebos in the backyard, and she might be one of the graves from underneath.
I'm pretty sure that Native American bones just make a good foundation for our buildings, because pretty much everything was built on Native American burial grounds.
America.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that hurt my stomach a little.
A lot of no, just a little. No, you're good.
Let's see. One
It's just a
employee was
little
hired to
poison.
greet guests at the front gate each day. One day while he was at work, a woman in a white old-fashioned dress walked through the gate without speaking to him. She strolled up to the house and vanished through the front door without ever opening it. The gateman quit his job that day. The grand
fuck
piano-
that. I was going to say.
The grand piano on the first floor plays by itself, usually repeating the same chord over and over. Sometimes it continues through the night. When someone comes in the room to investigate the sound, the music stops and will only start again when they leave.
I was gonna say, can you imagine if you like bought a piano but didn't realize you had bought a player piano, and like you're laying in bed one night and then all of a sudden you hear blue doo 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 doo.
Just burn it right there.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, no, just light it on fire. Just to be safe.
I got the cheap one. It only plays hot cross buns.
It plays chopsticks over and over. All right. Well, thank you, Taylor. We appreciate it greatly. If I'm not mistaken, our good friend Geddy here has a story for us. He said he brought something from his personal experience. So, Geddy, please enlighten us.
All right. I don't know how I'm going to phrase this. I think I'm going to Tarantino it somewhat. So, I was born and raised in Michigan. I lived in Grand Haven, Michigan. And when I was about, 10 years old, the streets you're able to play on them. We'd always play football and we'd skate and we'd hang out. And, all the kids in the neighborhood would just kick it and be cool. But this one time there was like this news crew that was like coming down the street. And it was like 2 houses away from me. And so they like roped us all up. And they were just like, hey, guys, like, you're going to sit here. We're going to film you. You're going to play some basketball. And, we might interview some of you guys. And we're like, all right, cool. Like, we don't know what this is for, but just play some basketball. And
Well,
like,
fuck yeah, I want to be on the news.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be on the fucking news.
Watch my sick fade.
Check this shit. Kobe!
Jason
Rain
Williams.
Man.
But, yeah, and so we're just playing shit. And they interviewed some of us. And they're like, hey, so, how do you feel about like DJ and like yada yada? And we're like, I don't know, he's pretty cool, I guess. Like we treat him like one of us. So DJ, I don't know, I don't want to like dump his last name because he's a surviving victim. But this kid DJ, he was 19 years old at the time, and he was a little slow, and like I myself didn't know how to like really handle it, so I didn't like hang out with him much. But he had like the same mental. What's the word?
Capacity?
Yeah, like the same mental capacity, if not less than us. So, like, we knew of him. Like, I knew of him. And I was like, yeah, he's cool or whatever. And yada, yada. And then I didn't know what it was about. I didn't find out until later that we were all getting interviewed. And he was this big news story because he had been abducted by this dude, James Donald Moore. And I got this from pridesource.com, and I believe it's like news that has to do with the gay community. I don't know. But this dude, James Donald Moore, he was like this truck driver all through like Michigan and, Ohio and all that jazz. And he had gotten picked up in, see my, my notes are shit, but he got picked up somewhere, offered a ride. He was like, yeah, I'll take a ride, whatever. He didn't know any different. He had like a stutter. He was, like I said, he was mentally challenged. So he took this ride from this guy, and they found him like in a ditch with like his eyes super glued shut. And so they like took him home. They like were trying to figure everything out. He was, obviously pretty shooken up about it. I don't know the details about it because you don't pry someone about that. Right. And there's not too much online, but this guy was also connected to this kid, Justin Bogdanic, and he was 18 from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he was also found in a ditch with his eyes super glued shut, and he was just left there for dead. And so I don't remember any real apparent cause of death. I don't know if it was strangulation or beating or what, but this dude just abused this kid and threw him on the side of the road, and then tried to do it with this kid from 2 doors down. But luckily this kid DJ survived. But I remember hearing that, and I was like, people don't do that.
That's like his blindfold. He's super gluing their eyes shut.
He would super glue their eyes shut. I think their mouths too.
Jesus.
And then who fucking knows what? They didn't just drive him home like that. So I don't have all the details on that, but it was just like, fuck, that shit really happens.
Yeah,
and it happened to the kids like down the street.
The kids that like went to your school and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And like in my sleepy little town, but it was just really weird that like I didn't have any idea, and I was like, yeah, what do you mean? The kid's cool. Like,
yeah. They're like,
whatever,
oh, you didn't know about his sexual assault?
Yeah, what do you mean? You didn't know that he was sexually assaulted by a truck driver and left for dead?
Oh, man. That's
rough.
brutal.
Yeah, that's my story.
Hey, Geddy, that was a wonderful story. Thank you.
Nice notes, Geddy.
Thank you. They're all right here on my
On the back of this
dental
other envelope.
envelope.
Oh,
Kind of writing them down
that's
as I
awesome.
go, as it comes to me.
Hey, but you know what? Hometown, even if they're short and like not incredibly detailed, like that's the stories that we're not gonna get by like looking around for interesting stories to tell. Like that's the ones
Terrifying.
that yeah, it's terrifying. But obviously that wasn't national news as far as like you said yourself, you were part of it in your sleepy community, and you're going back to look at it, and you can't really find much on it.
I
Yeah,
hate getting
popped up
super
in my
glue on
head
my
a couple-
fingers. Can you? I just can't even imagine.
Yeah,
Your
no, I don't want to think
super
about that. That
eyes.
sounds terrible.
Yeah, it popped up in my head like weeks ago, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "What was that kid's name? Like, where did this happen?" Obviously, you just Google like super glue truck driver, and nothing was popping up. But luckily, this time it did when I needed my
But
notes.
with the right combination of keywords.
Exactly. And our powers combined, we are Captain Internet. All right, hello, Greg. Please do bring us a hello, Greg question and a hello, Greg story, tale, government document, whatever you've got over there for us today.
My story is about a plantation in Louisiana.
It's
Oh,
convenient.
shit.
I was gonna bring that, but then somebody else did, so I had to scramble at the last minute.
It's the most anti-Hella Greg story I've ever heard, too.
Conspiracy on if it's Chloe or not.
Right?
It's Cleo, not Chloe. Conspiracy.
Yeah,
no, you're right.
so-
No, it is Chloe.
I was gonna say, yeah, Cleo's the one who says, "Call me now."
The cards don't lie.
99 cents a minute for the first 5, $4.99 a minute after. So no, I found another of those sweet remote viewing transcripts that I thought was kind of interesting.
I like those.
Yeah, I like them.
Now you're part of one.
They're interesting. So this question, my question, the question I am posing to you
Oh, do we
is,
get points for this?
Oh, yeah. Hella Greg.
Is this a point-related system?
All throughout season 4, Hella Greg. You were on it like 6 times. Man.
No, I mean like this whole
why
whole
do you
show.
feed the troll?
Yeah.
He's new here.
You
Excuse
know
him.
exactly what he's doing.
The literal fucking troll.
This
He
guy.
lives under a bridge.
This is the largest troll that has ever existed.
Hey, Shrek was
You have
real.
any idea how
He
big the
was
troll
an
toll is
ogre.
for this guy if you want to get that boy sold?
Gotta pay the troll toll to get into this boy's hole.
Are you saying boy's hole?
All right, Greg, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so
And
this
Siegfried.
is a remote viewing transcript. I will give you the hours and I will give you the day, but you have to give me the year. Closest to it gets 250 points. 1,000 if you nail it.
I put A. Is that a...
Okay, that's 1,000 points.
Yeah.
No,
He said
it's,
it. Hey,
this
he
says,
said it. Put it down.
says this
No.
will be a remote viewing session for 0900 hours, the 27th of May. What year?
Wait, we're writing it down? I left my pen in the other room.
You can just say it.
I'm good.
I say, did everyone write it down already?
Yes.
Okay.
2017.
2017.
Wait, we're doing the year that they conducted it or the year they projected to?
The year that they conducted it.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
96.
96.
I'm going to go with 01.
I would like to
I
guess
don't know what this is.
1984.
You want to go with 84? Ooh, Jesse's in for some points. If Jesse gets points,
No,
then Jesse
stop.
gets points. But otherwise, it is Taylor. The year is, or the date is 0900 hours, the 27th of May, 1982.
Ooh, I was close.
Get him.
Didn't you say this was remote viewed or something?
Yeah.
I was thinking back of like Paul's ring that he has on his house.
I was trying to imagine like remote viewing. I don't know. Like that's a newer thing-ish.
Well, I'm going to learn.
It's not.
some
They've
shit
been doing it
today.
since the 80s, Paul. If you listen to season 4,
That's
you
where
would
I got
hear
my answer from.
you would hear me mention the fact that a lot of these transcripts were conducted as early as 1978, but the program officially started in 1982.
All right, so Taylor has now taken the lead. 1,000. Geddy's got 750. Paul's still not on the board.
Let's do this.
Greg, let's hear the rest of that
Paul's
story.
board adjacent.
I'm going home, guys.
Screw you.
So yeah, they hit the little pre-session briefing. They show the guy the picture of the room that he is supposed to be concerned with. He says, "This or this?" Yes. I'm sorry, not to the right, but to the left. So they show him some flowered covered curtains right here, and this is the room in which you're concerned. And he says, "This is the one you want?" And apparently they're having trouble identifying the room in the picture. I don't know how many rooms could possibly be in a picture. But they say, "We're interested in the man and the woman and the activities in that room, in that area in the building. Now that you've been shown the specific area in the building, your task will be to be able to return to that area as directed by the second photograph I've shown you. Pass right in through that window and tell me more about the area and the man and the woman in that area. Do you have any questions about your task for today?" And then capital no. So apparently he was ready to just get this rolling. The other guy said, "All right, you now have 20 minutes to prepare yourself for this morning's session. It's time now to set aside all your worries and concerns and focus your attention solely and completely on the target for this morning. Relax now. Relax and concentrate on the target in the photograph I've shown you, focusing your attention perfectly, clearly, and precisely. Move now to the target area and describe it to me." So number 32 goes into the target area. He's I mean, this is some time later. And he's all mellowed out and relaxed, and he has remote viewed himself into this area. And he says, "Right next to the entry door is somewhat of a large painting of a war scene. I know, a war scene, and underneath the picture, a brownish and white striped modern couch. There's something about black or light pole, like one of these spring lamps come in a extended form from the ceiling to the floor." And the guy's not looking for interior decorating, so he says, tell me your raw impressions." He says, "There's something important about that fixture. It's come back twice. It has an ulterior purpose." So this guy's seeing like some dual purpose lights. He said, "Describe the activity surrounding this object." And number 32 says, "It's too early to see who, a monitor, messages, or something. I keep going into the fixture. There's wires in the fixture. Something about being crude but being effective. I don't know. All right, now this activity that you perceive, describe this activity in a step-by-step fashion. Describe the raw data that you perceive in this step-by-step fashion concerning this activity." So number 32 says, "It's a monitoring activity. It's a listening activity. Kind of like a thing that has limitations. It has intermittent. It is used by the people connected with the activity. Like they're monitoring for themselves. It's not an outside monitoring activity, although it could very well become one. It's to monitor the goings and comings of the goings on and comings on of conversations." I know. I
Gross.
yeah.
Next.
You're gross.
And the other people that come there on certain occasions. The individual overseeing this activity is tall, light-haired man in his late 30s.
Did you have a red beard?
Yeah, some sort of.
I'll walk outside for a minute.
He's got a fan. This activity that you're describing to me, was this activity as the people actually do the activity, or describe your raw impressions to me? He said, 1 or 2 people at a time coming in to report, mainly receive instructions and then socialize. So what it sounds like to me is this guy accidentally astral projected into like the Big Brother house. And he's sitting in the little confessional looking at like the ring light with the camera.
Huh.
And he's like, "They're monitoring it. That's what I'm getting." And these people are coming in and they're just like, "Oh my God. Rick used the last of the Kool-Aid. And I swear to fuck, I'm going to leave this house. It's not even worth the $3,000.
I swear to fuck.
So that's what it seems like to me. Either that or like apparently when you astral project, you can see like listening devices. You can see bugs. Like they stick out to you for some reason, which is kind of neat. I'd like to be able to do that to see if I was bugged.
What if it was like a hub where people came to get their like missions for the day, and that's what he was seeing. They're like monitoring their process through the.
Like the Simpsons when they go into the phone or the photo booth at the mall and they're like, "What's the password?" And he goes, "Cheese." And it's all, "Good morning, Agent Smith." And it starts rattling off his mission for the day. And then he gets out of the photo booth. And then Apu goes in there or Milhouse goes in there and he goes, "Cheese." And it's, "Good morning, Agent Smith." Anyway, the guys.
It's a different show.
Yeah, sorry, I thought we were into Simpsons quotes around here.
Nope. Family Guy's better.
Oh.
Tell him, Peter.
Hold on.
Apparently, everybody gets one.
So no one told you Paul was gonna be this way.
All right. Sorry, Greg.
We all told you how it was going to be. This isn't new.
Please continue.
Unless you're new to the show, in which case I don't like you. Unless you're not going to be my fan. Or my friend.
Not anymore.
Well, you don't know. Maybe they like aggressiveness.
Called negging, and it works. Okay.
What were we talking
So
about?
they want more information about this apparatus. He says it's behind the tall man's back and it's put off and on to a monitor. Looks as though it's to monitor conversations. He said, orient this apparatus in the room for me. You say it's behind the tall man. He says, yeah, it's to the right of the couch next to the painting. So for those of you drawing along at home, it's to the right of the couch next to the painting, which the couch is below the painting.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Duly noted.
And it's behind the tall man, so he's going to be in the foreground. He 66 says, all right, from this perspective that you're perceiving right now, describe it to me. He says, again, it's a tall, light aluminum pole painted in black paint, reaches from the ceiling to the floor. It's about an inch and a half in diameter. It's like a light pole, like a lamp pole. So my guess now is that this guy discovered a stripper pole. And there's two-way mirrors because the strippers being like what was that scene in Boondock Saints?
Yeah, I was
You
just
go in and you put your money in, and a little fucking thing opens up, and the stripper has to watch you boot off, and then you slide her some money, and then some Irish guys come in and shoot you.
Hopefully.
Bring your stupid rope.
Fucking Rambo. So again, that's what it kind of sounds like. He says, "Is it connected to anything?" And the guy says, "Yes, yes." And he said, "Describe these connections." He said, "I'm looking for them." It goes through the floor, like between the floor and the ceiling. And he says, so follow and describe. These guys seem to have a pretty good like give and take with their, like they seem to understand each other pretty well. He says, then it takes off to, I think across the hall at the stairwell, but it doesn't close up the wall or close up in the wall. It's connected to a wall outlet, like an electrical wall outlet. Can I let this thing go now? he's fucking,
Come on, man. It's like 10:40. I want lunch.
So 66 says, what is it in your report? What is it in your report now? And he says, I don't know. The wires want me to go back because I'm outside the room. And they said, all right, let's return to the target room now. And I have a particular question I want to address. You commented that this was crude in some way, but is it still effective? What is the raw data that makes you say this? And he says, because it can't be left on all the time. It doesn't have a continuing capacity, a capacity to keep running on and off, or to keep running on and turn out too good. It's got to be put on and off at specific times. And so they're asking more about the limitations of this. He says it's a lack of sophistication. That's what causes it. Number 66 says, all right, from your perceptions then of this apparatus, standing in the target room, perceiving what is going on around you, I want you to expand your awareness now. Open up your receptors and ask of your greater self this question. How can this apparatus be defeated? As you ask yourself this question, describe your impressions to me. So number 32 says, you cut just one wire if you want to physically defeat it. What is needed is you cannot physically defeat the apparatus without disclosing that the apparatus is defeated because it requires physical intervention, which would be quickly noticed. What you need is a wireless, no-wire transmitter to monitor this same activity, and you can neutralize the results of that activity. And 66 says, I have no further questions about the activity in the target area. However, it is time for you to go explore a new target area beyond the confines of my questions. So I'll save that for something later. But I thought that was kind of neat that he's like, it's 1982 and they're talking about having like a wireless, like localized EMP device that they can.
That like both of these dudes know about and are like, oh yeah, we could use this thing and like pull this in and
kind of yeah. He's like, this is what you need. You need something like this. He's not just abstractly coming up with the idea for localized.
He knows what's out
handheld.
in the
yeah.
out in the shop.
Like I found this and I thought that was just kind of fucking cool. So anybody who wants to read more of it, you can go to the FOIA library, the CIA FOIA library. and you can search remote viewing transcripts, and this one is remote viewing session 913. So you can search for remote viewing session 913. It's from May 27th, 1982. Go check it out.
Nice.
Yeah, there
Well,
you go.
God damn.
That's the end of my freaking report.
That's the end of my freaking report. Okay, well, shit. It's been a while since we had a guest bring a story, let alone two. So we got a Hella Greg story, two guest stories. Thank you guys for bringing those. We appreciate that.
And nothing from Paul.
That's what I appreciate about you.
Oh, is that what you appreciate?
Need to take it down.
Still reminds me of
10-15% there, Hella Greg.
Podcast Limetown.
Oh yeah. Limetown. It's a good podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys will remember, we took a break at right after question number 8 when we found out that Tommy Lynn Sells murdered transient Kent Allen Lawton by slitting his throat over one marijuana cigarette.
Shot him in the head?
Yeah, slit his throat for sure. So,
With a gun.
I'm sorry, what?
With a gun.
yeah, with a poison sauce on it.
With a bullet.
So, December 24th, 1988, he is arrested for assault, but released when the victim would not file a complaint against him. That's Christmas, man. Christmas Eve. He was also very intimidating to this witness while they were being arrested. You fucking better not file a report, motherfucker. I'll kill you. He's like, it's actually, I just don't want to file a report, believe it or not.
Yo, I will totally get you when I get out. All of you. Oh, don't forget little Bart Simpson over there.
Oh, yeah. All hiding behind the bone store machine.
You are so dead, Bart dude.
Different podcast. January 1989, he claims to have killed a sex worker in Truckee, Nevada, when the sex worker turned out to be a man rather than a woman. He didn't enjoy that little surprise. He didn't respond well to it. He doesn't respond well really to anything, but this one he was particularly.
I was going to
not a
say,
big
what
fan
does
of.
he respond
Yeah.
well to?
So, May 1989, he kills 2 people in Roseboro, Oregon, according to him. On May 9th of 89, he is arrested for theft and spent 30 days in jail. So, a lot of his arrests will come like a week or two after he is either pinned to or he claims to have murdered someone. So, it's like they've got the guy they need, they've got him arrested, but they don't realize that they've got him for shoplifting, and he's actually a person that's murdered 2 people in town. August 16th, 1989, he is charged with theft in Arkansas. August 23rd, 1 week later, he is finally released from jail. On October 19th, 1989, the now 25-year-old Tommy Lynn Sales is arrested in Carson City, Nevada, and sent to detox for 30 days. Question number 9. After his detox treatment, he steals something. What? Is it A, a truck, B, drugs, C, money, or D, a big screen TV? Truck, drugs, money, television.
Or E, all of them, and just lived a baller life.
What year are we in at this point?
This is 1989.
And how big of a big screen can you have at this point, though?
You can
This
get
is
those
back when
huge
you had, like, the
projection
projector
TVs.
ones
Yeah,
where
they
you-
were just on wheels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that belongs in the AV department.
Yeah. All right. So Paul says a truck. Taylor says money, and Geddy says
Stuff and things.
What was it? Truck? Money?
truck, money, drugs, TV.
Clay.
I mean, like he gets out of detox, walks out, and goes, "This is mine."
Clay. He really wanted to steal some blue clay. Blue clay dough.
Fair enough.
I'll say a truck.
Fucking copycat.
Geddy and Paul both say truck. Taylor says that it was money. Paul is on the board. Geddy gets there too, ties the game up. Geddy has 1,000. Taylor has 1,000. Paul has 250.
You know, it's my fault Paul scored. I was thinking to myself earlier before we went to break, dang, Jesse's pitching a no-hitter over there to Paul. And
You bastard.
I know.
Yeah. I
Reject
mean,
him.
and you want to call me a copycat, but I'm not proud of it. I wanted you to go fucking nada. You know, like I'm not happy we were right.
I didn't want to beat you. I wanted to fucking embarrass you.
I
you go.
wanted you to have nothing.
Are you guys ready? The noise is coming for you.
It's about to be
The
brought.
noise.
Gross.
Yeah, well, the eruption's coming for you, brother.
Brother!
Sounds sticky.
Yeah, it sounds sexual, guys. I feel violated.
Okay, so yeah, fair enough. Oh, here's a fun thing. I double numbered 9, so it looks like there's actually 16. Oh, look at that. I might have also doubled number 12, so there might be 17 questions. Greg, can you please help me?
There's plenty of time, guys. There's 37 questions left.
Hey, you had them
Sorry,
all numbered
Taylor.
proper. I went through and fucked them up when you emailed me the outline.
Did you?
Just for good measure.
Oh, fun.
He's lying to
Showing
make you
you
feel
he
better.
opened the outline this time.
All right, so
Make some changes
thank you,
here.
Thank you. So now I believe there's going to be 17 total questions, y'all.
I'll let you know when I get to the end.
Okay, so yeah, okay, so he steals a truck. Yeah, January 12th, 1990, steals a pickup truck to sell the tires to a young couple. Stole the truck to steal the tires, or to sell the tires.
Smart.
In 1990-91, from the ages of 26-27, he was arrested for public intoxication and convicted for stealing the pickup truck. He served 16 months of a 2-year sentence in the Wyoming State Penitentiary. In May of 1992, in Charleston, West Virginia, he attacks Fabian Weatherspoon, who's 20, who took him home and offered him food and clothing. He raped Fabian and stabbed the woman, but she wrestled the knife away from him and inflicted 23 slash wounds on him. However, question number 10, he would finally get the best of her, even though she had slashed him 23 times. Question number 10 is, with what weapon? I will allow you to stab at this one as well. I do have multiple choice on this. Yeah, I mean, it's a long shot. For this, if you are able to nail it, I will give you 1,500 points.
They're in her home.
They are in her home. 1,500 points if you can somehow nail this one. I also have a multiple choice options.
And I will give you 50 points of mine if you pick the room.
I'm gonna
Like
stab.
Clue.
Okay, Taylor's going to stab. Write it down now, Taylor, please.
No, go ahead. Tell us. What do you think?
Don't say it though. Yeah,
Yeah,
let
yeah,
them.
don't listen
These
to
guys
me.
are going to multiple choice. It sounds like. Okay, so Taylor has stabbed. Geddy's going to take multiple choice. Paul's like over here writing, but I think he's going to take multiple choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just from my own stabbing knowledge.
Okay. So Taylor's got her stab. Taylor, if you could hold that card up so we can see you don't change your answer.
Cheater.
Okay, don't show them yet. Flip it the other way. Just hold it up. Yeah. There you go. Stuck it to the, all right, stick it to the head. Okay, is it A pot from the kitchen, B, a decorative sword, C, a piano bench, or D, a glass vase?
Oh damn.
She wrong.
So Taylor didn't guess it.
It sounds
That's
like she
cool.
has it.
Well, because if I was gonna stab, I was gonna say like a fireplace poker or something.
Hey twin, what up?
What the fuck?
Fire poker, astral projected into my house. That's what I wrote. Fire poker.
Well, I'm gonna
Fire
say decorative
poker.
sword because I was thinking that before.
Okay, Paul says a pot from the kitchen. Geddy says a decorative sword. So he goes to stab her. She regains control. Puts 23 slash wounds on him. He's fucking panicking and picks up a piano bench and beats her unconscious, leaves her for dead, and she survives.
I imagine him as like a small, impotent man who can't lift up a piano bench.
I thought you were saying, what did he slash her with? And a sword.
Well, it's
Oh,
not
no,
going to
she
be a
was-
pot.
she
Piano
was
bench, I'm
slashing
like, you don't
him.
slash with a piano bench.
Yeah,
Or a
she
pot.
was slashing him. He
He
got
didn't get
control with
That
what
took her
weapon
down.
did he get control?
Yeah.
A piano bench.
And this is why I don't do this.
This is how we do it. All right, guys, couple questions left. Plenty of time.
Plenty of time, guys.
So Paul's at 250 points, 1,000 points for Taylor and Geddy apiece. So he picked up a piano stool, beats her unconscious, leaves her for dead, but she did happen to survive. June 24th, 1993, he's convicted of malicious wounding in Charleston, West Virginia, and the rape drop was charged for this beating. He is sentenced to 2 to 10 years. Yeah. On June 24th, 1993, from May of 1997, he is in prison. And question number 11, what does he accomplish while he is in prison? Does he A, get a diploma, B, a technical degree, C, does he write a book, or D, get married? Diploma, technical degree, write a book, get married. Geddy said a technical degree.
Yeah.
Taylor?
Married.
Married. Paul says the same thing. That's the correct answer. Taylor's going to take sole possession of the lead at that point. Paul now has 500. Geddy at 1,000. We continue on here. Yeah, he
Coming
gets
for you,
married.
Geddy.
While in prison, he marries a woman named Nora Price. Also, while he is in prison, he is diagnosed as bipolar. In May of 1997.
Those are two really good accomplishments. Good for him.
In May of 1997, he's released on parole.
Similar life paths.
He and his new bride moved to Tennessee. He abandons her frequently and sets off on cross-country travels. On October 15th, 1997, Stephanie Mahaney is abducted and killed. She is 13, and she lives in Springfield, Missouri. It was not a hell of a town that night. He claims that his van broke down in front of the girl's apartment. He saw her playing outside and just waited for no adults to be in sight before he took her. Her body was found in a nearby farm's pond. In late 1997, question number 12, he gets a job at a carnival as a ride operator.
Nice.
Stab only, 500 if you get it. What ride was he the operator of? If you get like close to the name of what it was, but you're not quite off, it's a local, colloquialism. That's fine. We'll all agree to disagree on that. I'm the host. I'll tell you who gets points. But he works at a carnival. It's traveling. He's a ride operator. 500 points. If you can tell me, what ride did he operate?
Carousel.
What's that?
Carousel.
Carousel.
I'm gonna say that free fall drop.
The like.
In 97? Did they have that
Yeah.
in
I get
97?
that. Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Yeah, like Six Flags and shit for sure.
Yeah, you said a traveling carnival.
Yeah, I know, but they had it.
So she's wrong.
Okay, she says we'll call it the droppy boy. Paul says Ferris wheel. Geddy says a carousel. 250 points going to Paul to bring it up to 750, 1,000, 1,250. Paul is
Didn't you
within
say 500 if I nail.
Oh, 500. That's right. That is correct. Paul now has 1,000 points to tie Geddy at 1,000.
Hey, guys.
Taylor's at 1,250.
You thought I was done.
Paul's a second half player, guys. You don't even know. But
Paul,
holy
back
shit.
up in your ass with the
Holy
red-
shit. Yeah, Paul just scored 1,000 points over the
1,000
last three
second half
questions.
points.
Yeah, so far. I'm afraid. Okay, so he worked at the Carnesville as Ferris wheel operator and truck driver. In February of 1998, he is traveling with the carnival in Del Rio, Texas, and meets Jessica Levry, a mother of 4. I think it might have actually been Levrier.
It's French.
Don't church it up, boy. March 31st, 1998, he moves in with Jessica Levrier. April of 98, his wife gives birth to Sells' son in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and she gives the child up for adoption. This is his wife that he's not with anymore, but he's never divorced her.
That is
Has his kid, and she's like, nah. October of...
lovely child.
This isn't like the 40s either. This is October of 1998.
Where were you in October of 1998?
October of 1998, I was like running cross country in the 6th grade.
I was in 2nd grade.
Y'all. Okay, but
I
cut
don't know
that
about
out because I don't want people aging us. So, on October of 1998, he and Levrier marry in Del Rio, though the marriage was not legal due to the fact that he never divorced Price. He was still disappearing often for days at a time, and Levrier's like, eh. On April 4th, 1999, Deborah Harris, who was 32, and her daughter Ambria Halliburton, who was 8, were found stabbed to death in Gibson County, Tennessee. Deborah was also violently raped with a baseball bat. Sells claims responsibility for these murders. April 18th, 1999, he strangled Mary B. Perez, who was abducted from an outdoor fair in South Texas called Fiesta. The body was found near a drainage ditch 10 days later, and Sells confessed to the crime as part of a plea bargain down the road.
This guy's been a lot of places.
Yeah, well, he's the drifter. Like,
Yeah.
that's his whole fucking
I've been
deal.
everywhere, man.
One of the books that I use as reference is called Cross Country Killer. Yeah. May 13th, 1999, he rapes and strangles a girl named Haley McCone, who was 13 in Lexington, Kentucky. He had led her to a forested area and done this act. So he's such a fucking predator. And there's a clip that I'll put it on Instagram. I don't even want to bring it tonight because I don't fucking listen to him. But he's such a fucking piece of shit. Because even some serial killers that are psychopaths or whatever, they'll be like, I understand what I did was wrong. Like, you know, I may not feel it, but I get what is happening out there because of it. Like, this guy is just fucking, they're great white shark eyes. They're just black and they're fucking dead.
Oh, I thought you meant he can't stop swimming or he'll die.
His brain is so fucked though, between the meningitis and then the alcoholism at 7. Like nothing developed.
And all those marijuana cigarettes he stole from hobos
while slicing their throats. Listen, I think I say this in almost every episode, but it's almost as if they never had a chance. You know, like
actually, unfortunately, he had a chance.
Yeah,
he had
Aunt
that one shining chance, and his mom fucked it up for him.
Fucking Nina.
His mom Debbie Mathersed his ass, and he couldn't M&M it.
Okay, so he kills Haley McCone, who's 13. He's now in Lexington, Kentucky. He led her to a forested area. She walked her bike in. Actually, I just fucked up that question, so we're skipping a question, guys. The answer was bike.
Actually, you didn't. You could have just kept rolling.
I do, but you know what? I get in my own fucking head about it, and then I can't keep a poker face. So that question is not there anymore. Paul, you have less chances. So I'm
in second place. I'm good.
After he kills her,
me too.
He steals her bicycle. Not even to use it as transportation. He like goes down the street and fucking sells it for $20.
Hey man, you want to buy this little girl's bike?
Come on, man! I can't even ride it. It's too small. My knees hit the handlebars.
Dude, but just after killing a person, to like,
it's nothing to him. When I send you this clip, you're gonna be like, "What the?" It's like a 9-minute clip in that interview with Dan Abrams. It's fucked. Like it's so fucked. Like at one point, Dan Abrams comes in like and does a voiceover while he's sitting there, and he's like, "And this is the point in the interview where I'm glad to know that we had the sheet of glass between us." Like it was like you could tell that Tommy's getting fucking mad, and it obviously doesn't take much to get him riled up, and I don't think he's calmed down at all. I don't think he's one of those killers that have gone in and found God and have been like, I'll never kill another human again.
He's like, I'll fucking kill you if you're on this side of the glass, and the reporter's like,
is this solid?
Okay, so May 13th, 1999, he's arrested for public intoxication in Lexington, Kentucky. He did this, got publicly intoxicated, shit-faced, pass-out drunk with the $20 he got for selling Haley McCone's bike. He was released the next morning and left town before a body ever turned up. So he killed this girl, stole her bike, sold it for $20, got shit-faced, pass-out, face down in the park drunk, got woke up by the cops, like, hey, get the fuck up and get the fuck out of here. So he gets his shit tanked ass and gets on out of town. Little do the police know, who just told him to move along, little doggy, that fucking over in the forested area 2 miles away, there's a young girl who he's raped, murdered, and stole the bicycle of. So this continually happens. It's like the guys that get off. He's not so much he got off for the crimes that he got. He would get caught for theft right after he fucking murdered somebody, or get picked up shit-faced drunk in the park where he wasn't supposed to be sleeping because, man, I got that $20 from killing my girl. Did you see what I got with that? It's all 2 bottles of Jack Daniels, baby. So, it's super fucking gnarly. He gets out of town. May of 1999, he's arrested in Madison, Wisconsin for drunkenness and being threatening with a box cutter. While in custody, Sells assaulted another inmate. He was finally released on June 24th. So he didn't, I say finally, but he spent like 6 weeks in jail for, beating the shit out of another inmate and using a box cutter like in a public square. In July of 1999, he abducted Bobby Lynn Wofford, who was 14, from a convenience store near Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Sells sodomized and shot Wofford while she was trying to escape. He moved the body off the road and into the woods, and it was found 4 months later. He was linked to the crime through his confession and a pair of earrings that he had removed from the body and kept the whole time. He would return to Del Rio to Jessica and her children and moves back in with them. On December 30th of 1999, he claims responsibilities for murders committed this day in Welch, Oklahoma, of Danny and Kathy Freeman, who were found dead in a burning mobile home. Their daughter Ashley and friend Loria Bible have never been seen since. They were in the mobile home. So the two bodies of the adults were found. The two girls that were in the home, their bodies were not found in the fire and were never seen again.
I think I remember hearing about that, and it was like people thought that maybe I'm thinking of something else, but that sounds like it was. If it's the one I'm thinking of, they thought the girls had done it. And like initially, they thought the girls had like set the fire and then run away or whatever.
I mean, it makes sense. And this is 1999, so you'd have been 12 or 13. It's not possible if this had somehow made national news.
It looked like that easily.
Yeah. Okay, so we're getting near the end, guys. December 31st. Thank you, Greg. December 31st, 1999. He's now 35 years old. We've gone through some life with Tommy Lynn. Tommy approaches a home of Terry and Crystal Harris. Terry is not home this night. Crystal is there with her children and two other children of they have a friend who's moving to town from, I think, Indiana or Illinois or Kansas. I can't remember. But they're moving to Tejas. But their children are already there, and the parents are coming the next day. So it's New Year's Eve, 1999. We're about to see the millennium get popping, you know?
It's like when you move to a new town and you send all your shit first, and then put it in the house, and then you show up the next day ready to unpack. It's just like the kids are in a box.
So he approaches the home. He hears a barking dog, goes over, gains the trust of the dog. You know, as somebody who just likes a dog or knows dogs, you just go over and give them a little love. They're on your side if they're not attack dogs.
Ready, Paul?
Or if you're not a shit person, right?
Dogs love me.
Apparently, even if you are a shit person.
So Sells attempted to break into the back door, but was unsuccessful with his tool of choice. This evening was reported multiple times to be a boning knife, but was actually a chef's knife that had been sharpened so many times that it looked like a boning. So this is like a full chef's knife. We all have it in our kitchen, but it's been sharpened down so many times that it looks like a mega thin curved. You guys all picture a boning knife in your head?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a thin blade that like, hell yeah, Greg.
Don't fucking kink shame me.
Anyway, so he's got this super gnarly knife that he's like trying to jimmy the back door. Let's see. All this is according to Texas Ranger Johnny Allen, who is leading the case, the investigator in the case. So he's unable to gain access to the back door. Question number 14, how would he get in? Would it be A, a front window, B, the front door, C, a back window, or D, a side door? Front window, front door, back window, side door. It's one of these.
Probably.
Back window.
He couldn't have just Richard chased it and moved on.
No.
Well, we didn't check the front door yet.
Ooh, we all have different answers.
Okay, Taylor said side door. Geddy, what'd you say?
Back window.
Back window. Paul said front door. It was a front window. Nobody scored any points on that one. Sorry, everybody. So still Taylor, 1,250,000 for Paul and Geddy. Okay, so he walks around to the front of the house, locates a window at the front that was open. He crawled through the window and made a commotion, but the half-sleeping young boy in the room, Justin Harris, just yelled at his siblings to get out of his room. So he hears some shit. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here! Come on!
Get out of my room, Kyle! God!"
Yeah, but it's like 4 a.m. So he just thinks his siblings, and then there's also two friends of the family that they're like 7 and a 10-year-old that are also there. So he just thinks some fuckery is afoot, and just his room has become the latest place for that to be. So really, it's just a man who's not interested in a little boy and moves on from the room. Tommy then moved from the bedroom down the hall. The house is very dark at this point, but he's lighting his way with a Zippo lighter. He opens the next door and sees the mother, Crystal, asleep in bed with her 12-year-old daughter. In another room sleeps the family friend's child, 7-year-old girl named Mark Searles. Tommy peeks into this room and moves along as well. In the last room, he opens the door and flicks the cigarette lighter and sees what he wants. He gets into bed with 13-year-old Kayleen Harris, known more often as Katie. She is on the bottom bunk of the set of bunk beds, and he begins to menace her with a knife before quickly removing her clothes with it. He just cut down the side. She is able to kind of wiggle free and gets out of bed. And right when she does, she kind of screams. And I'm going to go to Crystal, who is in the room. This is like her direct account. I have it from an article one of the articles I mentioned is like a 10-year, this happened 10 years ago kind of thing. They all kind of got back together and talked about it. So she's on the top bunk watching this happen as Katie slides out from the bottom bunk, now naked, and a man emerges from the bottom bunk. What's that?
You want me to do it?
Sure.
That way you can take a rest.
There, yeah.
I remember I woke up to like a scream. I was on the top of the bunk bed and just popped my head up a little bit. I was looking around and never sat up fully or anything, but the light was on, so I could see. I could see at the end of the bed this scary guy. He had scruffy hair, long, dark, curly hair, and a big, scary, long, bushy beard that, just took over his whole face. And then his eyes were just dark and mean. But then I saw Katie had blood on her and that he had a knife in his hand. He had a knife across her throat and his hand on her mouth. And then he just cut her throat and she fell to the ground. He still didn't notice I was in the room and he was getting ready to leave. He opened the door and almost had the light off, looked one last time, and he saw me looking at him. I was trying to scoot to the right side of the bed because he was on the left, and he reached over and cut my throat. And then I remember just lying there and the light turning off, and I heard the door shut. And so I got on my hands and knees, and I was crawling across the floor in the bedroom, and I came across Katie on the floor. She was kind of making gasping noises, or maybe she was choking, but then I was trying to comfort her. I laid next to her, rubbing her back, and that's when I realized I couldn't talk because all I wanted to say is everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, but I couldn't. And then, as soon as she stopped making those noises, I had this feeling, get out of here, get up, come on, go, don't lay here, go. It was dark outside. I was in my pajamas, no shoes, nothing. And I just decided, I saw a light in the distance, and I was like, that's my goal. That's where I need to be. I just got on the road and walked really slow to that light. Really, all I could think about was just get to this house, just get to this house, just get to this house. And then I banged on their door, and I hear a gentleman. He's like, whoa, who's there? Who's there, And I can't talk, so I'm just banging as hard as I can on the door, and then he opens the door.
So she's safe. And the reason this commotion, while it might sound like it was loud, really, Katie pops out from the bottom bunk, says, "Get mom." The guy Tommy slices her throat, turns, comes over to, and then in another account, she says, like, she has her hands up, and he tells her, like, move your hands. She moves them. He goes across once and then comes across again. So he obviously left them both for dead. And she thought that everybody else in the house would be dead too, but everybody else was still sleeping. So her first idea, she heard a car start up and leave, and they live in an area where that was the closest neighbor. And she has been there. That's her first day there. She got there. Her parents are supposed to be there tomorrow. They're moving to the area. So she's staying with some family friends. Yeah, exactly. So Crystal was taking us. Thank you for reading that, Greg.
Yeah, I can hit the next ones if you want to.
Cool. Crystal was taken to San Antonio to be placed in a hospital for pediatrics and began her road to recovery. As soon as she wakes up from her first surgery, she is ready to talk about what happened, and she can remember the man she saw in the room with she and Katie. Her mother is excited that she is okay, but tells her to wait, save her energy, and wait for the police to be there. This is when Johnny Allen, the Texas Ranger, comes in, and he speaks to Crystal for the first time.
I told Crystal, we have a photo lineup, and if you see that man in that residence that did this to y'all, please put your finger on him. Crystal took the photo lineup, and she began. You could see her eyes moving from one individual photograph to the next, and then you could see that she came back and focused in on one photograph. And I was standing beside her when she did this. And Crystal took her right index finger and put it on the photograph of Tommy Lynn Sells.
So Tommy Lynn Sells at this point in time became the number one suspect, obviously, because this little girl who had just survived being attacked by him and pointed him out. Johnny Allen, the Texas Ranger, also remembers that once they had a positive ID, they went straight to San Antonio, or from San Antonio at the Pediatrics Hospital back to Del Rio, which is about a 2.5-hour drive. So they're there, and they get positive identification in like 20 minutes from her, and they get her to sign, and they just head right back.
I gotta say, fucking props to her for just being like, yeah, let me see this guy's face again. Mm-hmm. Like, let me point this guy out and get you going in the right direction.
And she doesn't even know.
That's gotta be hard as fuck to do.
And I think right now, like, she's still like, she's just come out of surgery. They haven't even told her that Katie is dead. She's like asking, she's writing, like, is Katie okay? And her mom's in the room, and her mom like can't bring herself to do it yet. She wants to get her like, so she's in a very
precarious spot.
She's 10 years old.
Fuck.
Yeah, she's 10. Katie was 13. So the Valverde County Sheriff's Office had handled Tommy Lynn Sells before on some accusations that were made when in Del Rio against him. You want to read these ones, Greg?
Sure. When we got to Tommy Lynn Sells' residence, it was approximately 5:30 in the morning. We knocked on the door and it was opened. We went right on in and were met near the front doorway by Tommy Lynn Sells. His comment was, "I'm glad I finally got caught. I was tired of doing this." And then we told him he was under arrest for murder. The murder weapon was an 11-inch butcher knife. It had been sharpened throughout the years so many times that it was such a thin blade. It was recovered beyond his residence in the bush where he told us he had discarded the knife.
So, essentially, right at this point, Tommy Lynn Sells just starts being incredibly cooperative. He wants to give up all the information he can. He wants to just tell the whole story. So he's just committed a murder against a 13-year-old girl, an attempted murder against a 10-year-old girl, and Greg, I'll let you read these last ones if you don't mind.
So Johnny Allen says, "I thought this to be very odd. Here is a guy under arrest for murder and attempted murder, and his willing to cooperate with us basically is the nail in his coffin."
And then it's a transcript. So then the video cuts to Tommy Lynn Sells where he says, "I walked over here to the edge of the house.
Lo and behold, a window was left open that night, which allowed access a lot easier.
Then I came over here. There was a little girl sleeping here, and I stood here for a minute. Then I looked in here, and there's 2 girls sleeping in here."
He explained, which is where the girls were lying. He walked over to the bottom bunk where Katie was lying.
"I cut her bra off, and I cut the side of her," motions to be cutting underwear. "Whatever she was wearing, then stabbed her there, and then she jumped back. Then he motions slicing her throat. Then I walked over here," and he moves to the top bunk, and he went like this and demonstrates slashing Crystal's throat across the neck.
"We feel like the motive in this murder and the attack on Crystal was sexual assault. We didn't find out that Sells was associated and friends with the Harris family. And we feel like he specifically targeted Katie. It's frightening that Sells also had made a comment that he actually thought about killing the 6 people that were in the trailer."
Yeah, later, in part of the interview, he says the only reason he didn't is because it got so, the commotion got too hectic in that room. He thought it would be cleaner.
Yeah, I figured he would have killed everybody.
Yeah,
the only reason he didn't is because it got a little out of hand.
Also, did he just see Katie at first? Because the way the survivor described it, she was hiding and he was leaving.
Well, she said
him.
she was on the top bunk, and then he went in and hit the lighter and saw her on the bottom bunk and was like, "Ah."
Right.
And
so he didn't see the girl at the end or on the top until he was leaving, until he had slit the throat.
It's because when Katie got away, she scrambled away and she got to the light switch and turned the light switch on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when he grabbed her and turned her around and cut her throat. And then he went to go shut the lights off and make sure that everything was all buttoned up. And when he did, he looked back and saw the girl on the top bunk and she was all scrunched up,
trying to tuck herself into the bed.
Wall,
yeah.
Trying to be as hidden as possible. And that was when he came back over.
Yeah. And like I said, in one account, she said that she had her hands up like this, and he just said, "Move your hands," and did 2 cuts across. So
I mean, that adrenaline, because Katie didn't have it. She didn't have the forewarning of being attacked, and that adrenaline's probably what saved her. Even if she was cut, it still kept her moving.
Right. So let's see here. Tommy is cooperative, continually begins to divulge information about the previous murders he had committed before. Most of the ones we've talked about tonight are all ones Tommy is later going to say that he's responsible for. During the trial, Crystal went on the stand. She was overcome with emotion initially, but after a 15-minute recess was eventually able to point out Tommy Sells as her attempted murderer and Crystal's murderer. She walked everyone through the entire night step by step. She showed the jury the scar on her neck and so on. Crystal recalled that she knew the case was going very well when even Tommy's defense attorney came up during cross-examination and said, quote, "You're a very brave young woman. No further questions." His lawyer knew he was defending a guilty man, but he was just there to try to prevent the death penalty, not get a not guilty charge. After a very little time deliberating, 1 hour and 10 minutes, the jury returns a guilty verdict. Now, we know, Greg and I doing this, we may not be court experts, but we know, a short one is oh, they were in there for 8 hours.
I've been in court a few times.
Yeah, it was they went and they deliberated for 8 hours. Sometimes it's 40 hours they deliberate.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes it's days.
This one is 1 hour, 10 minutes.
Now we're mostly arguing over what to get for lunch.
Right. So on September 20th, if we stay here for one more hour, they got to get us lunch today too.
Right? They were done in 10 minutes, but they waited it out for lunch.
On September 20th, 2000, question number 15. What will be his final sentence? Does he get A, life with no parole, B, life with a chance of parole, C, 25 to 40 years, or D, the death sentence?
A.
Yeah.
A.
Oh, A. Okay. I see.
Can you say that one more time?
Life with no parole, life with a chance of parole, 25 to 40 years, or the death sentence.
And he's being charged in Texas.
See.
That was my thought.
Kill him.
Taylor and Paul both say the death sentence. Geddy says, given life with no parole. On September 20th, 2000, Tommy Lynn Sales is sentenced to death for the murder of Kaylin Harris.
Don't mess with Texas.
Geddy, it's Texas.
So 1,500 for Taylor, 1,250 for Paul. Geddy has slid right into last place with 1,000 points.
How's it feel?
However,
We got another question, right? I'm used to it.
we have two more questions, and one is a two-part question, which will be worth 250 points each. The last one is a stab that only one person can get. This is the closest kind of deal.
I can Geddy, I can hear Nick right now laughing.
I already feel it.
I can hear him going, ha!
So on November 8th of the year 2000, Tommy Lynn Sells begins his death row sentence in Polunsky Unit in Livingston, Texas, given TDJ number 999367. On February 22nd of 2001, he is removed from the death row, Bexar County Correction Center, awaiting trial for capital murder for the young girl Mary B. Perez during the Fiesta Festival. On September 10th of 2003, he pled guilty to killing Mary B. Perez in San Antonio, Texas, and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. On April 5th of 2004, the evidence wasn't as great in that, so that's why he was given the life without parole, apparently. April 5th, 2004, he confesses to the slaying of Suzanne Kors, who was 27, in Niagara Falls. That's the one who wasn't found for 8 years after the murder. He is going to claim a number of other murders. Question number 16. This is a two-parter. Geddy, get your pen. I want you to write this one down if you can.
All right.
All right. Yeah, so nobody yell it out. Question number 16. We've got two numbers for this. I want you to give me the high end of numbers that Tommy Lynn Sells admitted to. What's the most that he's admitted to? And then I want you to give me the actual number that he has been officially connected with and or convicted for. So he's been connected with some that they didn't do trials for. We know how it works when it goes like this. That they're like, this is the guy, but we're not going to do a trial. So I want to hear how many Tommy Lynn Sells has said, yeah, I did this many. The highest number we've heard. And then I want to hear what that actual number he's connected with is. So give me the high first and then the actual connection second.
Do you suppose it's possible that he downplayed the number and it's actually more than what he...
I'm not going to answer that until after we've got answers.
Don't try to confuse us.
I'm just trying to get you guys to think creative.
Think outside the box.
All right, guys. Tell me when everybody's got their answers written down.
I'm done.
Ready.
Okay. Geddy said, weird. Geddy said 37 is the high, as did Paul.
Fuck off.
Taylor said 78 at the high. So the high was 50, which means Geddy and Paul will both get 250 points for that one, being only 13 away from the answer. Paul is now at 1,500, tied with Taylor. This is a two-part question. Things can happen. Geddy at 1,250.
Somebody else feel that?
The second number, Geddy said 8. Paul said 21. Taylor said...
23.
23. For this one, Geddy is going to get 250 points because the actual number is 13.
Oh,
what
shit,
we have
Thirteen.
across this means at the end of 16 questions, the score is 1,500, 1,500, 1,500.
Oh shit.
Oh my.
Oh, we don't get a fucking...
Go
Somebody's got to get this.
Yeah, somebody's got to get this.
Oh, we don't get an artistic challenge.
What if nobody gets
Oh
this?
no.
Well, it's the closest to the answer.
What if
Unless
two
they all guess
people-
the same thing.
Yeah. What if two of us?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's how Geddy and Paul just fucking guessed
We've done
37.
it like 3 times this episode.
Okay, so he does mini interviews. He does mini interviews while he's in prison. He's a bag of shit. He's not sorry at all for what he's done. Question number 17. In what year did Tommy Lynn Sales die?
He's still alive.
He's bitch.
You
He's
can
still
say-
alive.
Your
he's-
language is offensive, Taylor.
Is this triple still alive?
Because
He's
that's what
definitely-
Paul always guesses, isn't it?
I've already written it.
Paul had written it when I was like halfway.
He wrote it at the
through.
fucking
He's too much of a
beginning.
narcissist to kill himself, and if I was in prison, I wouldn't fuck with him.
Oh, that's just talking
He's
about me for a
definitely
second.
still alive.
They're just always still alive. The evil keeps them alive.
They're almost always still alive, guys.
So hold on, before you answer this, is that what you guys all want to lock in? Because right now, statistically speaking, the only way to win is to change your answer.
No.
Well, the only way to win without an artistic challenge. Maybe they all want to go to artistic challenge.
I don't.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That could be. That could
I
be.
say
That's fine.
alive.
Okay,
I
triple's
suck
still
at
alive.
artistic challenge.
Tommy Lynn Sells
He did this time. You fucked.
was
with us.
executed in 2014.
Oh yeah, Texas.
Tejas. So what we're gonna have here is an artistic challenge, Greg.
Okay. So you guys heard me giggle earlier when we talked about the boning knife. So just draw your sexiest boning knife.
Draw your sexiest boning knife.
Paul's like, I'm on this.
No, I kind of already did, but it was awful.
Oh, you get a second
You
chance.
got a
at your
rough draft,
boning,
is what
huh?
you're saying.
All right, Geddy,
doubt it.
let's take a look at yours. Last to finish, first to show.
Hold on.
You gonna click on him?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Geddy, say talk. Hold on, I'll just click on him.
Oh, that's nice.
The D-Boner 2001.
I like it.
But you gotta say it 2001.
2001. Is that okay? So first of all, I like the rough draft at the bottom.
That
I
looks
like both rough drafts. I like that you decided to go less ball strong and more.
Yeah,
more
look at the
shaft
first
strong.
one.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's
I
just
was like,
that's just a
no!
penis.
That's
Yeah.
really intense.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
just
a
a
penis.
dick.
I like that. Was that blood dripping from the end of that one?
That's a pretty heavy droplet.
Hopefully, semen. More semen.
I like that it's tatted on the side too. D boner.
Yeah.
As if the title above wasn't
it's
enough.
the D-Boner. Okay, that's a very solid D-Boner there.
Okay, Paul, second to finish.
No, don't wrinkle it.
Second
We need
to-
pictures.
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul. Show them what you got.
Dildo and an alien and is that an upside down star?
Yeah.
No, that's a right side star.
No.
False.
It's not even
He
complete.
attempted to pander twice.
So again, I appreciate the alien. Glad that it is labeled.
I want you to look at the base of the sword as well. Notice the AE on there. Just, you know.
It's a little grainy. Oh yeah, would you look at that? Yep.
Just that show
So
we
that
used
is-
to
that
do
is
3
an
years ago.
That is an anxious extrovert's knife dildo.
With an alien and a upside down pentagram.
And those dots on the blade
AKA
are
a
diamonds.
star. Oh, diamonds.
Oh, and it's a diamond blade
Damn.
Yeah, we fancy.
That is fancy.
boning knife.
It's a fancy, sexy blade.
I like it.
Okay. All right, Taylor, first to finish, last to show. Let's see. Show me what you got.
Her doodles have been on point. She's
my
definitely winning this.
D.
Oh,
But
God.
there.
Oh, I thought there's a dad up there.
Rip. We have your
So-
victims.
Okay, so she's on the stage.
It's not necessarily a she.
Why are her nipples going different directions?
That's what.
Not
boners
necessarily
do.
a she. Oh, I get it, and that's the boning knife.
Oh.
That's why the nipples are
Yeah,
going
that's not a
different
belly.
That
that's
is-
the hands.
That is torture porn.
Informative
The-
torture porn.
The security camera in the top cracks me up though. So I'm.
Oh,
God,
man, you're
no.
torn.
I really am.
There's monies.
There is money.
Quick, get in there and sell your guys' too. This is your final chance.
High heels.
I'm sorry. I got to go with Geddy.
Geddy!
Deboner 2001.
The deboner is what sold me, man. Actually, it was the rough drafts that sold me. I like the backstory. I like seeing how we got.
He liked to see all the dicks.
It came to
Let's
life.
be honest.
see my
He
rough
won
draft from,
because
like,
you
an
showed
hour
him
ago?
the dicks.
I drew one like an hour
I
ago.
like seeing how we got from A to
That
D.
their pumpkin dick.
It is almost Halloween.
Tis the season.
All right. Well, congratulations, Geddy.
Oh my goodness. 2 out of 5?
I am
Great.
Oy.
so excited for you, huh?
Thanks.
All right.
I'm
Well,
taking that
I'll
out.
give you. How about let's give you a victory lap here, buddy? Anything you want to say or share here on episode 103 as we wind down with you, the champion of this episode?
Feels good. Feels good. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie. You know.
Who's
But,
we? I was in the
back.
bottom.
But I got a
Yeah, you were.
shout out to Nick. We missed you here. We know you're listening. And I'm sure you were rooting against me, but fuck you. I got a shout out from Lacey to Paul. Fuck you, Paul.
That doesn't sound like it should come from her. Sounds like somebody else should have said that. She's so sweet. Tell her I
No.
said thank you.
She said it earlier for who knows why. I didn't even know you were going to be on
Just
the show.
randomly.
She just said it.
She just shouts it out
She just
at
said
random
it.
points.
He's like, man, it was awkward when I actually saw you there because then I realized I had to shout it out in front of you.
Actually, this is for Lacey. Huh?
Huh? And then, I don't know, are we doing like the Instagrams?
Yeah, whatever you want, man. This is your victory lap.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
I
not gonna
ain't
tell you how to run
shit,
it.
but I just want to shout out, there's this artist, Matthew Mitchell. He goes by Dark Circle Comics on Instagram. And if you guys have made it this far, go and check him out. He makes basically like Hank Hill and Peggy Hill and Beavis and Butthead into serial killers and random horror movie icons and all that jazz. And he's just a really tight dude. And go and give him a follow, man. He's bitching.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good guy, that guy.
Always like to see shout outs that support like artists and stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, he's rad.
Okay, Taylor, anything you want to close out with on your unfortunate but not victory tonight?
It's okay. It felt good. It was a good L. I'll take it.
All right.
I'm glad I didn't lose to Paul, though. Like, that's...
You just
That
tied
is
Paul.
Yeah, you tied Paul. Is that better
That's
or
fine.
worse? Oh, that's
That's
better.
the Nick Drury way of seeing it.
I'll take it. I also want to let the listeners know you can now text 911 if you need to. If you cannot call them and check to make sure it's available in your area, but texting 911 is now available.
Hey,
You are welcome. Stay
there you
safe.
go. Stay safe, y'all.
Helpful. Very helpful. I think that's probably the most helpful thing that's ever been said on this
Yeah,
show.
I agree with
That's
that.
what's up. That's
She
what's
must be
up.
new here, guys.
Yeah. You don't know how this works.
All right, Paul, you have 4 seconds. Is there anything you'd like to say? on
Yeah, I'd
that?
like to blame everybody here. I will now
3,
be drinking every time I'm on the
2,
show. It's going to be real bad.
One.
Oh, that was pretty good. Good job, buddy.
Fuck Bigfoot.
So,
Outside of the time limit, it will be stricken from the record.
Greg, anything here on our final rundown, episode 103, which we've been recording for 3 hours now.
That's it.
Jesus Christ.
How
really?
did that
it really?
happen?
At Hella Greg on social media. If you're watching, thanks for watching Hella Conspiracies. If you're not, please go watch Hella Conspiracies.
$5 a month, patreon.com/serial chillers podcast.
Unfuck Bigfoot.
Oh,
We
nope,
can't.
don't get any more. You had your victory lap. Okay, so thank you, Hella Greg, for doing all that you do. Remember that Hella Conspiracies, Super Simpsons Show, Death and Co. podcast. Thank you, Geddy. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 103 of the Serial Chillers podcast. And remember, don't talk to strangers.
Fuck Bigfoot.
Getting cut.
No, that reminds me.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.